And three, two. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday night, and we're here once again to ask the question, hey, did you see this one? And transition. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? It's Caylen. He's the host this week. Caylen, take it away.
Oh, well, thank you. This week, as we continue our month of Crazies, we are taking a look at M. Night Shyamalan's Split. Maybe I should say off the top, spoilers, maybe, ahead?
Yeah, I think if we're doing an M. Night Shyamalan movie, the very way that we do our rundowns, we're just going to talk about everything. So if you haven't seen this movie, please stay around and get spoiled from this podcast, and then don't watch the movie because you're spoiled by it, and give us the likes and the views instead.
Or you could watch it.
Yeah, pause.
You could still watch it.
But yes.
Also, it's been out for 6 years, so you've had plenty of time. What's wrong with you?
Well, Jason only just saw it last year, didn't you? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But yeah, so I'm just gonna say it now. Potential spoilers ahead, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend pausing this and watching it because it's an amazing movie, as we are going to get into. Also, off the top, I have to say, I have to sing James McAvoy's praise. Give him the Emmys. Give him a Grammy. Give him a Tony.
Nope.
Give him all of the awards.
One of those things are what you would get for a movie.
I know. An EGOT.
Give him an EGOT for this, even though he doesn't sing or do a live stage play or do a television program.
I'm sure he's done a live stage play before.
Oh, I'm sure he has, but for this particular movie, don't give him an
Yeah,
EGOT.
For this, Split on Broadway is what it was called.
My name is Jade. I need some insulin.
My name's Jacob Split, and you're never going to believe what happened to me.
I kept calling him John Split in my notes until I just Split in my notes until I learned any of his actual names.
I would recommend, if you're watching this movie, not to put subtitles on, because anytime he's speaking, it tells you which voice is speaking, so you lose a little bit of the mystery, because you're like, oh, it's Dennis. Oh, it's Patricia.
Interesting.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't have subtitles on, and I like the little, when he changes. It's just a little look, and then he changes.
I have issues with understanding what people are saying sometimes, so I usually will have subtitles on all the time.
Same. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Caylen.
You stuff your stories in a sack. It's all part of the fun here on, hey, did you see this one? But yes, this week we are looking at Split. And I guess we'll start with our introductions. I think I was a naughty boy, and if I recall correctly, I downloaded this movie when it came out to watch it, and immediately after bought it. I was immediately, for lack of a better word, in love with this movie for various reasons, which we'll get into. But I saw this movie roughly 6 years ago when it came out, or actually, I guess maybe 5 years, because I didn't see it in theaters. I would have seen it when it was starting to come out on DVD, and I was instantly enthralled. Steven, why don't you tell us about your first time seeing this movie?
Oh, me? I saw this movie in theaters. I have always liked M. Night Shyamalan. I don't think that I'm as hard on him as most people are for some of his stinkers, as you would call them. But I also didn't immediately throw him under the bus as soon as he made a couple of bad movies in a row. The Happening and The Last Airbender, not very great. Some people like The Happening, though. I'm not really huge into it. I think it's a little too weird for me. But The Last Airbender was kind of just a big pile of crap. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. But I also was not a big Last Airbender person, so I was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool that they throw rocks at each other with magic or whatever. I eventually got into the show and the subsequent show that came after it, Korra. So I'm familiar with it now. But anyway, I saw Split in theaters, and as we've said, spoiler alert, I was very, very excited at the end of the movie because I had no clue, and I was able to avoid the spoilers, and it made all of the problems I had with the movie go away. I was like, oh,
Nice.
this is great. Because, like, if you're watching it as a movie that is
Like a
seemingly supposed to
stand-up?
take, if you're watching this movie as if it's supposed to take place in our reality,
Hmm.
then the things that they deal with, the subject matter that they deal with in the movie, can be pretty offensive and kind of shitty. And when it's all of a sudden revealed to you that, oh no, it's a superhero world, you're like, oh, the fact that it's corny is part of it. I get it now. That doesn't excuse everything, but there are a few things that I was able to go, oh, okay, this is fine then. It's just a science fiction movie. But yeah, I saw it in theaters and I enjoyed it the first time.
Very
Jason.
nice.
I watched it today. So
This guy.
what I will say, I watched it today. It didn't really. I remember when it came out, and I remember being like,
You haven't seen it before today?
no, I hadn't seen it before today. And I remember when it came out being like, oh man, that looks awesome. Like it's 2016. Like I'm not like, I'm desensitized enough. I probably could have watched it back then. It's not a very scary movie, really. It's just like tense. But the thing is I didn't know when it first came out that it's in the Unbreakable universe. Spoilers. That was sort of the big reveal. We'll talk about that.
That
at
is
length.
the biggest reveal, yeah. It's crazy.
We'll talk about that, but there's one line in the movie where she, even before they straight up mention glass, where it's the Dr. Fletcher's at her friend's house, and the woman says something about like, I've got it in my notes and I'll bring it up again when I say it properly. It's something about like, somebody can just shatter at a whim or whatever, and that made me go, oh fuck, there were people that got right by that line and didn't realize that was a little bit of like super subtle foreshadowing. Because when this movie came out, as far as I remember, like, people were like, this is just the new James McAvoy vehicle. He's playing like a whole bunch of different roles. That's interesting. It's M. Night Shyamalan. It's going to have like a crazy twist.
Well,
or
they
something.
didn't even really marquee M. Night Shyamalan.
Exactly.
They used to like sell it on his name, but they didn't bury his name, but they didn't like put his name all over the posters in giant letters.
I believe the movie before this was The Happening. So
well, no, he made The Visit before this.
The Visit was before. Anyway, I know that he was having kind of some critical fails.
He was in family mode.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway,
well, so he was basically going through.
I'll just say that's my history with the movie. Boom.
Okay.
I watched.
Well, so just to respond, because I would like to present information that is real information. He wasn't just in family mode. He was at one point the top of the town. He was making giant blockbuster movies. He always touted himself as like a B movie director. He's like, I love B movies and I want to make B movies. But he was making B movies at the level of a multi-million or like hundreds of $1 million with like the top stars in his movies, right? Like Signs is not a B movie. It's like an intricate examination of Catholicism and like your loss of God versus, aliens and all that kind of stuff. But then those movies started to not bank as much, and then his name almost became like a joke.
Yeah.
Like he just relies on twists. All of his movies are just twists. Mm-hmm. And then he started to like remove his name completely from titles because people were scared. And then Blumhouse basically said like, listen, you want to make B movies? Let's make them at B movie level, and we'll make them at B movie budgets, and we'll find people that are interested in the projects rather than like having the entire studio system behind us. So now he's just working with Blumhouse, which is like basically the level of like A24.
They're like an A24
but like,
kind of.
Yeah, but they're not as like, critically acclaimed, because they'll still make a pile of shit every once in a while.
They always make they make a lot more piles of shit, where A24 makes a lot more like crazy, like they just take ideas and turn them into a film. Like they'll buy a script. A24 will buy a script no matter what it is, if it's a good idea, and they'll make it. Like I think the Truffle Pig movie is A24. That weird goat one. There's that movie about the people that go to make a porno and then the old people are fucking trying to murder them.
Yeah, in some cases it's also sort of like a Fox Searchlight thing where they find movies that are already being made and then they'll like pump some extra money into it to get them fully released wider. So like Men, for example, I watched recently. That's an A24 movie. Very good movie, very weird movie.
Both A24 movies.
Yeah, there's tons of movies that are extremely critically acclaimed, but A24 also makes some stinkers every once in a while as well. We can't.
Do we know if that goat movie is good or
gold.
bad? I remember we did the trailer, and you specifically were like, "That looks interesting." Did you ever end up watching
goat movie? Which goat movie?
It's about a family that has this goat. I can't really remember the plot, but the goat's
I don't remember that.
The goat's mystical.
Was it when we were doing the horror movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
The new horror
I watched a bunch of the horror movies on that like Men was on there. I know that.
Yeah,
there was
I remember that.
Gnome movie. I watched the Gnome movie, and I watched the one.
Was Prey on that one?
Prey was on there. I watched Prey.
Prey.
And then there was like that other one with what's her name? What's her name? Regina? No. The woman who was in like the scary movies back in the day.
Regina King.
Yeah. Okay. Regina King.
Sorry, just sorry to cut you off, but the movie's called Lamb. My bad, and it's about a childless couple discovering a strange and unnatural newborn. I did not watch that. They decide to raise it as their own, but sinister forces are determined to return the creature to the wilderness that birthed her. So it becomes a little lamb person.
There was that other one where like the daughter becomes like a bird or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So the point I was trying to make is that M. Night Shyamalan like became sort of a joke for a while, and it was unfortunate because like he was never a bad filmmaker. He just didn't make stuff that people were into at the time.
I remember too with M. Night Shyamalan, he did like an appearance. He did like a thing on Entourage where he was like made himself like kind of a joke, and I remember that being like a thing for a minute.
I never watched Entourage.
I watched Entourage, and he was on it, and they were trying to buy a script, and they were like, "Yo, he's fallen off," and he was acting all like he like needed like the main character to be in his movie and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Right.
This show wouldn't work now though.
Yeah, I don't know. I knew some people that were into Entourage, and I tried watching a couple episodes, and I was like, this show is not for me.
No, you would hate it. You would hate every minute of it then, and you would hate it especially now because that, like I said, that show, there's a lot of gross stuff in that show.
Speaking of Split.
Yeah, I was going to say that The Visit, if you guys haven't seen The Visit, his name was almost entirely removed from that, to the point that when I watched it, I didn't even realize it was M. Night Shyamalan until I started watching it and the credits started, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And also, sort of like this, he takes a tidbit or a psychological illness that is named in reality, and then he goes to town on it to a point that it's potentially problematic. But it's about sundowning, which is like a type of disease that elderly people get, where when the sun goes down, they almost get like a sense of dementia, where they're like more confused after the sun goes down, and it's also like a point in people's lives where they start to deteriorate. But it is a good thing. I don't fucking know if it's a vitamin D thing.
Well, but that reminds, when I worked for the CNIB, like the Canadian Institute for the Blind, there is a thing where at twilight people have certain problems with their eyes where they just can't see while the sun's going down. I know this is a different thing because this is dementia.
Yeah, and also like the way he takes it in the movie is like this. It's a science fiction version of it, right?
They turn into super villains.
Yeah, it's like they turn into like monsters, basically.
So I'll
anyway,
tell you
it's
how
a good
wrong,
movie. You should check it out.
I'll tell you how wrong I was about the happening thing. Not only was this not his next movie after the happening, it seems like it's a steady downfall to Split. It goes Devil, sorry, it goes The Happening, then The Last Airbender, which was the worst movie ever. I was a huge fan of The Last Airbender. And
Maybe kids liked it.
No, it's bad. Like, it's not even, it skews for more like you grew up with the show and you're finally getting a live action movie, and it's just awful. They skip over so much stuff anyway.
Jason says as a full grown man talking about it.
Well, I watched
when it came out, he was a full grown man.
Hey, I was like 2010. That was 12 years ago. I was like, okay, fair enough. I did watch
man, yeah.
then Devil, which I did watch and I didn't care for.
He didn't direct Devil though.
Well, he produced it, and then he produced After Earth after that, which is fucking awful.
I didn't mind After Earth. I don't know why everyone hates it.
It's like Will Smith,
kind of blows.
Jaden Smith just going to a planet and being father and son and crying. And then There's
a few lines though. There's a few lines like his thing on fear is like we're like anyway, go ahead.
And then The Visit, but then it seems like he starts to take an upswing again, because after that he was the executive producer for Wayward Pines, which I didn't know, which is pretty, people like that show, and then Split, and then Glass, and then Old. And I haven't seen Old, but I hear Old's pretty good.
It's worth a watch.
The Visit's good. Split's good. Glass is okay. Half glass full, I'd say. Yeah, I think he got to a point now where he's like, I'm just gonna make things that I want to make for the budget that I can make it and not have to worry about it. And it's better. Like, the proof is on the screen, right? It's like, if he's not having to work with Hollywood heavy hitters with the pressure of having to make back a $400 million budget, I think he'll probably be in a better place to make something creatively. Old, I liked. A lot of people hated Old, but I thought it was pretty fun. Has a lot of like weird shit in it, and I think it's based on a comic book.
Do you think he'll get back to a place where they throw big money at him, or do you think
I don't think that he wants to get to that place is what it is. I think he's like, I am comfortable here, and I was there once, and I have proven to myself that I can't really, or I don't want to have that kind of pressure. It's like, it's more fun to be able to make something you're passionate about than have to like force out a turd and also have the pressure of like hundreds of millions of dollars in return that is never going to come, sort of thing.
I think an M. Night Shyamalan anthology show would be cool, where he just, all of the fucking ideas he's never been able to make, but I'll have a
well, that's what Devil was supposed to be.
Oh, it's supposed to be like a series of anthologies.
If you watch Devil, it at the very beginning, it has like the number one. Oh. And it's because it's supposed to be the first one in his like anthology series where he was going to make, I think he was going to make 10 movies or something like that, or 7. I remember there was like a specific number, but yeah, Devil did so poorly that that never ended up happening. Pretty ballsy though to be like, here's the first one, see, the number one, and everyone's like, what does that mean?
Do you know what else it was ballsy to do? Call it the first one number 4. So,
oh, was it? Did it say 4, not 1?
No. I'm saying.
Oh, you're talking about Star Wars.
It's another really ballsy thing, because what if it failed because like the world wasn't ready for like this kind of a movie, right? And it failed.
Hey, stopper.
And then there's just.
Well, I don't want to steamroll what your point is, but it wasn't called episode 4 until the home release. They did not in the theaters in 1977 have episode 4 on the screen. It was just called Star Wars. It wasn't even called A New Hope yet.
So by the home release, they were sure they were going to make another movie then, is what you're saying?
They had already, because Star Wars had made more money than any other movie had ever made. They were like, yeah, we're going to make as many of these as we can. And he's like, well, I have 2 more.
We're going to make good ones. We're going to make bad ones. Yeah. We're going to make TV.
Like, it wasn't even called Star Wars A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars at that point.
We're going to make a Christmas special, and everybody will love it. It'll be 3 hours long, and Wookiees will have parents that go into a weird jerk-off VR realm. That's my takeaway.
How do I respectfully get us back on track?
Say back on track, and I'll stop talking. Yeah. But until then, I'm going to talk about the Wookiee VR masturbation device.
Listen, so we all know about Lumpy's jerk-off machine.
I gotta say a few things here, just from the opening alone. Now I was watching it. I have the physical copy. I was watching some of the extras and stuff, and we open with her sitting by herself. There's some friends in the background having a party. She's like a loner or whatever. There was supposed to be a few. That scene was extended where someone bumps into her, is like, oh, I did, like 2 times it happens. Two different people bump into her, is like, oh, I didn't see you. The girl who's having the party is nice enough to invite the less than popular girl from school to the party, for at the very least, morals and not wanting to hurt her feelings anymore than however she already feels. But so the scenes that got cut is kind of like she's invisible. We go to when the dad's like, no, we're not leaving her. Come with us. Listen to my dad's shitty jokes. Ha ha ha. They go to the car. The two friends are in the back. Casey. Oh, also Casey Cook. Another little nod to comic books. Stan Lee, more specifically, where he had his characters' first and last names alliteration: Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, so on and so forth. So Casey Cook, right, follows that theme. But so they're in the car. We have Kevin / Dennis. Well, probably it's Dennis at this point. Comes in. First thing he does is cleans the car, right? He's cleaning the car. I was like, oh, that's weird. She notices this, though, right? He's cleaning the car. He doesn't even notice her, which kind of adds to her just kind of like being invisible, so to speak. And then shortly thereafter, when he brings them back to his residence, when she tells, what's her name? Marcia, to pee on herself, she knew he was a clean freak from that. It's one of those show don't tell things, right?
Yeah, I figured that. So at that point in the movie, I'm still confused about some elements, but I know that some shit's gone down with Casey, and she somehow has gleaned that this dude is a neat freak. But at this,
he's not just cleaning the car. He's using a handkerchief that he's brought with him to touch garbage that's in the car, so that he doesn't have to touch it with his hands.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. That is enough, because he's like he's like tidying up the car, and he pulls.
And he looks disgusted with it. He's like,
okay.
This is fucking gross. Like he thinks it's like a tissue or whatever, right? Yeah, and then the peeing thing is like, she also has experience with this. How to get people to stop.
Know that yet. I have a confession.
But this is the first hint that she does, is that she knows exactly what to do in a situation where somebody is maybe going to sexually assault you.
I have a confession. I didn't figure out that it was her having flashbacks till like the fourth one, when it went like from the flashback to her. And before that, it kind of just shows history. And I don't know if it just...
Well, they say her name a bunch of times during the flashbacks. So.
Oh, did they? I was more paying attention to the cinematography, because it's the cinematography.
Also, hats off to that little girl.
So fucking good. Yeah, no,
that
she was
little girl was awesome.
She was great.
When she does the little, because he's got buck fever, like that. It's just such great delivery.
Also, the intensity of the shotgun, like she's just like, she should have pulled the trigger. There's a lot more to that story too, which
we'll get to it.
No, but I mean, like, outside of the actual movie, they never really explain the heart attack. They never. I presume that the uncle, were they actually uncles, or were they?
Yeah, that was her.
I assume so, because he gets custody of her when he dies.
Okay, yeah. I thought they were a couple at the very beginning. Like that.
What? Where are you getting this info?
Jason,
did you watch this movie or what?
No, the reason why is because they were super close to each other, and they didn't say uncle till later. So I just assumed that they were together, and this was their daughter.
They say uncle at that dinner scene where he's talking about the buck. He says, your uncle had buck fever. Like that. They say uncle. Like, it's, I don't know. Maybe you were just, I don't know, not fully absorbing it, because like it's all made pretty clear.
It was your first time.
It was the first time I watched the movie. There's a lot of this movie catches you off guard a lot. So I'm gonna say that I was paying attention fully to this movie. It was one of those situations where I was stopping to watch it and watching it, but I missed little things, and that's why we have this. So if I have a question, that's why I said it was a confession.
We got you.
But the energy between the two men, until it was explicit in my head that it was her uncle. Even after that, I was still like, because of the way that they were acting close to each other,
Gotcha.
they could have been romantically involved.
I just figured
and they were just
brothers
using uncle
close.
as a filler or whatever.
As like that's your uncle. We're not going to tell you about all the gay sex that we do to each other.
That would have made the movie even more problematic to me.
Why?
Because then it would be demonizing gay people as child predators.
Okay. Subtext matters. Matters. Okay, my bad. I wouldn't have taken it that way. It would have gone over my head, because that's not. But when you're making a movie, every scene is a statement. So,
right, yeah,
you know what I mean. So I understand that, Steve.
But those flashbacks kind of tie in with, her being prepared. Like she learns how to hunt and stuff from her dad. Like she's not treated like a stereotypical girl or whatever kind of thing, right? And so she's better prepared to deal with the kind of situation. Like she doesn't know what to do yet, but she knows everything that they're saying is wrong or won't work, right? Like she's like, she knows,
because she's been going through, since she was a child, she was being abused by somebody who's been controlling her entire life because her father died. We don't know that part
yet, but yes, exactly, yeah.
But
that fucking guy.
We get a pretty good idea that she has some sort of trauma that has prepared her for situations like this.
That fucking guy that is her uncle is always the worst in everything. He's the guy in the office who paints on...
Literally that actor, you mean?
Yeah, that actor. He paints on Pam's mural in the office, and in Orange is the New Black, he's, for like a couple seasons, he's like so they have this like group of hardcore, like closer to soldier police come in because the place is getting a little bit unruly, and he's just assaulting people and punching women and like being the worst.
He's also been in lots of things where he's a gentle giant.
I've never seen him as a gentle giant.
Okay, well, he's in other stuff as a gentle giant. He's very memorable as a scumbag because he's very intimidating and scary, but he's been in lots of things as a good guy as well, and he plays the complete opposite, where he's a big imposing figure, but he's like a teddy bear man or whatever. But yeah, he is a dick in a few things for sure, including this movie
and Orange is the New Black. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know his name, but I do recognize him as a guy from other stuff. So yeah, they get kidnapped. It's pretty sudden, abrupt, but the scene is very well shot. I do like
that shot with her on one bed and the two on the other, and I think it's just like a beam in the wall, but it looks like it's like the way it's on the screen, it looks like it's dividing them, like they're separate, they're two different kind of groups.
Yeah, that's also kind of comic book panel-y. Makes them look like they're in two different rooms almost, but they're in the same room. Just another hint that this is a comic book movie. It's throughout the whole thing. There's hints. There's also another huge one. They mention the train in this movie that Bruce Willis crashed in. In the movie, they mention that Kevin's father died in a train crash, and you find out later that it was the same train that Bruce Willis was in when he crashed in Unbreakable.
He was the only person that survived, and everybody's looking at him like, that scene when he's coming out of the hospital, and everybody's like, one person survived. What the fuck?
Yeah.
The actor's
name... speculate that scene from Unbreakable when he's at work and he walks by a mother and her child, and the mother's yelling at the kid. There's speculation that that's Kevin and his mom.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, that's called backwards writing. Like, there's no fucking way M. Night Shyamalan was like, this is going to be a character one day in another movie that I'm going to make 16 years from now.
No, yeah, probably. You're most likely right. Yeah.
That's like people saying that the kid in Iron Man 2 is fucking Tom Holland or whatever, and we're all like, yeah, all right, whatever, suck my butt. That's not
the actor's name is Brad William Henke. And I think he's in Lost too, as I think also a dickhead. so
Mr. Henke.
Mr. Henke.
Yeah, no, I mean, whatever. He's a giant guy. It's like, what else is he going to play other than giant, intimidating monster men?
He played John on ER. Sorry, that's just funny to me.
He played Monster in Monsters.
Monsters.
he played Monster, and he was the titular monster in Monsters. Uh, yeah, and then we get she pees on herself. The dude doesn't want to deal with her after that because he's grossed out because he is scared by germs, I suppose.
Did you
Germaphobe.
Did you guys
Yeah.
find that James McAvoy, like, I even remember this when the movie came out and seeing trailers and stuff. He didn't look like James McAvoy to me. Like,
He transforms every person or every like character personality that he plays in this. He transforms into that role. He does he makes a different look and cadence and voice mannerisms. Every character is a different character, and he completely disappears into them.
and I wanted to say too, like, it's not like I just have never seen him bald before because he's in 4 X-Men movies.
X-Men, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've seen him bald. I just mean specifically. I don't know how
He put on a lot of muscle mass for this movie. Like
Okay, that
a
could
huge amount of muscle.
He's still
His neck is like the size of the width of his head.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah.
I think he's
up.
doing something though. I think he's
Yeah, he
like,
probably did like a shitload of push-ups and chin-ups before each take to like make himself look more jacked for each thing.
I think he's also holding his he's contorting his body a certain way to
when
do
he's
it
when he's Dennis, he is for sure. He's flexing his entire upper body when he's Dennis.
Yeah.
When he's Patricia, he's doing the same thing. And then when he's Barry, he's more relaxed. His head is leaned forward, which makes your neck look more lithe. Yeah, he just has completely different body language for each character that he's playing, and it makes him feel different.
But also his, like Caylen was saying, his facial expressions. There's one, like, towards the beginning, there's one scene where he's Dennis, and then he goes like this, and then he's Patricia, and I rewound. I couldn't figure it. It messed with my head. I couldn't. It's so good the way that he just is able to transform. Just his eyebrows just kind of go up, and his face just kind of goes sullen, from from very like pointed to like back, and then and then like proper when he goes into Patricia mode. And it's haunting. It's haunting. And then when he's Hedwig, it's another like whole thing. The first time we meet Hedwig too, he's crouched down and walking like he's like small. Later they kind of drop that, but I was like, oh, he's like supposed to be the height of a 9-year-old.
I was curious about that too. I was wondering if that's what they were trying to do with that or not.
Maybe just for the shock of him suddenly playing a 9-year-old. That I think.
But he didn't do it in a goofy way. Like, you know how, like in some movies or whatever, if someone's being childish, they do it in a goofy way or whatever. Whereas,
I mean, that's debatable.
I'm not saying that it's some comic
goofy.
relief, right?
The etc.
He has a comical speech impediment.
Oh, my favorite.
I knew it would be. I knew as soon as I heard him say etc. I was like, yeah, Caylen's gonna latch onto that hard.
Yeah.
But when he's Dennis, there's like when you first meet Dennis, he's like, hey, like he does the Buffalo Bill voice a little bit.
I was gonna say he kind of sounds like Buffalo Bill, yeah.
But all of his characters start in a certain way, and I think they all sort of come to a little bit more digestible middle. But also, I'm theory crafting through this whole movie. As soon as Dr. Fletcher starts talking about how sometimes 2 people can have the light, I'm like, is he 2 people right now? Is he literally 2 people? And I know that you were saying you were watching with subtitles, but even the subtitle, like the person who wrote the subtitles for the movie, like,
are they guessing?
Is there direction to write that out? Is that still a subtext that you just kind of take in as you're watching the movie? I was having a lot of fun mentally. Maybe that's why I missed all the very obvious stuff, because I was just watching my own version of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
So with Barry, we don't actually see Barry until the end when we see his video file or vlog or whatever. Every other time it's Dennis trying to be Barry.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
It's actually noticeably different when you actually look at it. Yeah,
that's part of my point. I think that I think that in a way it's so much more than Dennis trying to be Barry. It's Dennis harnessing Barry, because this is a really complicated like thing because it's the same person. So this is
Right.
all the stuff I'm thinking about. And as soon as she's like, I noticed that you move that bowl 2 times, so I know your OCD is there. I know that you're being,
Yeah.
but the thing is like he's still keeping Barry, but they keep doing like these slow like close-ups of his face, and he's like breaking. But I think
Okay.
that's dramatic irony for the audience. I don't think she's seeing his like I'm gonna explode with Dennis. I think what she would be seeing was him just like trying to just be Barry still. But I think that that's 2 people trying to like have the light at the same time. So those were just little things that I was thinking about.
Because sometimes the other personalities get the light. They send an email to Dr. Fletcher saying, urgent, we need help. And then, so like you said, so Dennis comes over pretending to be Barry, or maybe they're both fighting for it or whatever. But Dennis's OCD still spills out as he fixes like the books or the candy jar and that sort of thing. And she's got like a little, like she's very in tune to the different mannerisms, like with the different different personalities, and she knows something's off.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. That the woman who plays Dr. Fletcher is amazing. I also feel like she may have some sort of split personality thing, because she does a lot of like little facial expressions, but she's like OG, so she'd have complete control of like the person who's has the light, so to speak, in a more traditional non-superpower way, in a more like clinical multiple personality IIT or ITT or whatever it's called,
DID.
Yeah. And that's I know that's another me having a theory corner, me like
I don't know about that
crafting. One. But like I don't know.
If she had dissociative identity disorder, why would she not reveal that as somebody who is the foremost expert on it to the people that she's trying to convince that it exists? Why would she keep it a secret?
I don't know. One of those show don't tell situations. She just has a lot of moments where it might literally just be that she's trying to like keep him in control.
I feel like she's being strategic.
But keep him in control without her breaking, because there's a couple of moments where she like wipes tears away, because and that's what I was thinking, like is she going through it? Which way is she going through it? Those are some thoughts that I had.
Well, she had never met Dennis before,
right?
And she's realizing that Dennis is like basically buried Barry within the dark, and she hasn't seen Barry in a long time. She's now realizing that, oh my God, I haven't spoken to Barry in how long? I don't even know, because I've only just started to notice that he's doing these tics that come along with the OCD.
She also knows about Dennis's proclivity for young ladies.
Girls.
Yeah,
so
she knows all about
face
Dennis
to face
because
with the monster.
From all the other personalities she has met, she has never met Dennis, but she knows all about him because the other personalities have basically told her everything.
Yeah.
And so for her to be faced with him, it's not necessarily that she's like, scared or upset that she's meeting him. It's more that she's like worried about the other personalities who are maybe her friends, who are like now being buried by Dennis and Patricia, because she knows that Dennis and Patricia have both been exiled and are being denied the light because of their radicalization towards the idea of the beast and bringing the beast forward. And she knows all about the beast, but she doesn't believe the beast exists. But now she's realizing that the 2 people that do believe in the beast are potentially in control of all of Kevin's like consciousness.
Yeah, because
that scares her, and that's why she's upset. That's what I kind of got out of it.
A few of the other personalities that we saw are very like one-dimensional. Like Jade just has diabetes.
And I'm a girl and I have diabetes. What the fuck?
Girl. But she is kind of the hero in the end, but the sort of. And then there's the guy who just like loves history, and he's just spouting history. Yeah, Orwell. I thought that was an interesting little.
It's like the Romans in 1492, but to 1500. Yeah, he just like pops out to barf out history lessons for some reason.
But the thing with
what
Jade,
a weird.
the thing with Jade that's interesting is that that's almost proof of what Dr. Fletcher's talking about. She knew of another person who had two personalities. She knew of a blind person who had two personalities that were able to see again because the I don't know, the optic nerves reformed somehow. And that's when she's like, I think that there's more to this, to the point that it could be almost extraordinary, paranormal.
Yeah, I feel like they could have just given me one example of that, and I would have been like, oh, interesting for this movie, without giving me like 20 more examples along the way, where I'm like, okay, I get it. You don't have to keep fucking telling me that.
If I'm just
I
another
understand.
Placebo effect, though, is
Why
a
do I
very
need this
interesting
needle?
thing. I placebo myself all the time. That's how I'm able to live, go through life.
Have you ever
happily.
placeboed yourself into being able to see again after being blind, though?
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever placeboed yourself so hard that you got a bee allergy?
Yeah, or so hard that you became a mutant who can get shot with a shotgun and survive no problem, stabbed and have impervious skin.
I've placeboed myself into being happy when I was sad. How about that?
No.
I think you just need therapy.
It's like a superpower. I wish I had that power.
Also, can we get a shout out to her neighbor? Crazy,
to the
terrible
lady
person
who is obsessed with foot scrubbers or whatever, and doesn't believe anything.
Thumb to flick it. What do you think she was watching? Price is Right, or what's that other one with Vanna?
I thought she was watching Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune, yeah.
Because you wouldn't be able to flick the big wheel in Price is Right with your thumb anyway. You have to give her, or it won't spin all the way. But people on Price is Right, I've definitely seen them go like that to spin the wheel.
Listen, this movie doesn't take place in our reality, so it's probably some other fucking weird game show.
It's the Price is Wheels. The wheel is wrong.
But
where they have a rule where you can't flick it with your thumb for some reason.
The amount of times I've seen someone almost knock themselves out trying to spin the big wheel,
or get like pulled under it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, actually, so you mentioned I thought you were going to make a different point, but you were talking about some of the little kind of let's call them Easter eggs, when she's talking to one of her colleagues, and he says something along the lines of, "You're acting like they're supernatural, like they have powers or something," right? Like another little, like, before you know that this, like, when I first saw this way back when, I didn't know it was in the Unbreakable universe.
No.
Like when that happened at the end, I was like, so I already liked it, but then when that happened, I was like, oh my god. This is amazing. That's
what I'm talking about. I'm following my notes to try to get to the exact, but the line happens. It's the old lady friend who loves the Price is Wrong. There's also some foreshadowing for Casey, because the whole scene, like with hunting the buck, before we know that she was actually sexually assaulted, it's sort of like they're talking about how like how women are smarter and men are dumb, and men can be easily like manipulated, and that's why we're going for the buck instead of the female deer kind of thing. And I was like, that I was still confused about who these people were.
Go on.
You know what I mean? There's not really much more to it, but it's just there's a lot of really good, like,
it's building.
Yeah, there's some good building, some good foreshadowing within the movie, but within this universe. And what you're saying is that mentioning the paranormal stuff for a split personality, because split personalities exist, and it is a controversial area of science, because people can easily fake that, I think, is the problem with it.
Right.
When people claim insanity for horrible crimes to get lesser sentence, there's no way to like really test it, right? So, and also, if this movie wasn't like a superhero movie or a supervillain movie for that matter, it's a little bit insensitive to like play it like this, I found.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There was a lot of controversy when this movie first came out about using DID as a plot device for a movie about a man who kidnaps and eats women.
Yeah.
it's probably not the most sensitive way to, present the subject. But at the same time, this, not necessarily calling it dissociative identity disorder, people have been referring to it as like schizophrenia or split personality forever, which is incorrect. And but it's also been a plot device since like fucking Middle Ages. Like it's been around for a while, man. Fight Club, Mr. Robot. What are some more recent examples?
Macbeth.
The movie Identity, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like
that's
all
like
of these
the first
things.
One.
Well, in that he's drinking a potion. He's not crazy.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, but wasn't that sort of a an allegory for like alcoholism in that era, in like the Victorian era?
Yeah, probably. It's like when I drink, I get all handsy. They call me Mr. Hands.
At night time,
Mr. Hyde, because I want to touch that hide.
He drinks a potion and then he falls down, and when he gets back up, he's gonna kill you. And also, Jack the Ripper was out there. Jack the Rippin'.
I have blue socks too.
Etc.
Etc.
But anyway, like I have a bigger issue with the other thing than I do with the DID stuff.
I found the line that the old lady says that is a little bit on the nose if you know it's in the Unbreakable universe. And she goes, we look at people who have been shattered as less than.
Yeah. Shattered. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, if I was watching this movie, that would go over my head. But since
it'd be different if she was like, "It's almost like you're made of glass." Like,
well, the line
you're some sort of Mr. Glass or something.
The line at the end is literally like, that guy who's in the wheelchair and he's his bones are made of glass, and I was like, oh.
And then Bruce Willis like,
Mr. Glass. I'm right up to that point. I thought I didn't know how they breached that subject, and I thought the twist somehow was they reveal it that they're in a zoo, and then it's revealed that the horde, his group of
the animals,
and his group of personalities create this horde, but the beast is an amalgamation of all the animals.
Gotcha.
At once, and I was like, "Oh, is that the M. Night Shyamalan twist?" But no, the M. Night Shyamalan twist is literally like Tony Stark.
So you didn't know?
I'm putting together an Avengers.
Before going into this,
I didn't know I knew that this movie took place in the universe, but I didn't know how, and I didn't know that was the twist. I didn't know the twist was literally
it's a real comic booky ending. Like it's like
it's an Avenger. It's the MCU ending. They literally did we're putting together an Avengers initiative.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost the same vibe. It even takes place in
but diner. Did you know that they did it in Final Fantasy before that?
Look, I haven't brought up Final Fantasy. I haven't brought up Final Fantasy in weeks, okay? But
I know, but not everything is Final Fantasy and MCU. There is a scene in this
that is Resident Evil, which is another one I like to talk about.
I just ate a hot dog.
Yeah, no, I when I first saw that scene, I was like, what? Because I recognized the music from Unbreakable.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, this is why is it this 90s? This is from something, and I didn't realize. And then when she started being like, they gave him a funny name. He crashed that train and killed all those people. What was his name again? He had a funny name. He was in a wheelchair. And I was like, no fucking way. And like she moves and he's Mr. Glass. I'm like, oh my God, Dunn? Dunn is here?
David Dunn. Again, the alliteration.
His secret, his kryptonite is water because he can drown. Twist. I'm not Shyamalan. Twist.
Yeah. Oh, also.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, that's the other thing is like everybody says he has his twists, or it's all about twists, and I'm like, there isn't really a twist in Unbreakable. Like the twist is that Mr. Glass is bad.
Well, Glass is the one that did it.
He's revealed to be.
Yeah, but that's like a mustache twirling villain, and like anything, like that's
But up until
turn.
Up until that point,
M. Night Shyamalan didn't invent those.
Up until that, I know, but up until that point, he's pretty much the ally, and then he reveals.
But he was heavy with it.
He reveals his big plan. I think the M. Night Shyamalan twist thing comes more from Signs and
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. And those are big ones and The Village, and they kind of ruin the movie if you know them. But then The Happening was like kind of dumb, and people were like, I guess that's a twist. And then it kind of, there's no twist in Avatar. I
guessed that twist as a joke to my friend. I was like, what's the twist? Is there a twist? He's like, yeah, there's a twist. I'm like, what is it? And he's like, it's something really dumb you'll never get. I'm like, what? Like the trees are giving off a thing that makes everybody kill each other? And he's like, that's the twist. I was like, what? I'm joking. I was fucking joking, man.
I watched it on a plane knowing the twist, and it's a horrible movie. It's a bad movie, but if you know the twist, it's even stupider. It's even worse.
Yeah, but hot dogs are cool.
They got
protein. They got a cool shape.
The Sixth Sense. You know, if you don't know the twist, it's still it's still an interesting movie. But here's some. A lot of filmmakers can learn a lesson from M. Night Shyamalan. Don't make big twists in your movies, and don't become known for it, because it's going to come back to bite you in the dick.
Or vagina.
Or vagina.
Or bagussi. I don't know what a bagussi is. You guys
just
keep
say
saying
ass. Everybody has an ass. Just say ass.
Well, I'll tell you what I will say.
Ass covers all topics.
But
I want some clothing with newsprint on it. I want the newsprint fabric clothing. That shit looks dope.
What newsprint fabric clothing?
Barry's sketches of dresses and suits or whatever, skirt suits.
Did you notice
that was the reveal? Is like they find Barry's dress that he made, and it has all Mr. Glass's headlines from all his disasters.
That'd be awesome.
Oh damn, that'd be dope.
Just as a little joke though that I noticed, his sketches of women, when they were showing his, like, on the wall for the dresses, the sketches, they had the same dimensions as Dennis Reynolds' women when he was drawing a dress. You remember that? With the massive gazongas.
Oh,
I thought it was just
because Dennis probably drew those.
Yeah. Sorry, that joke landed right on its face. But I wanted to say it because I found it to be funny in my head, and that's how you get jokes out. Somebody laugh. Please clap.
I didn't understand the joke. It went over my head.
So in this one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they go into this fashion designer.
Now talk about a long name.
Oh, okay. So you said Dennis. There's a character in this movie named Dennis.
No, I said Dennis Reynolds.
Oh, I see the confusion now.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who Dennis Reynolds is. I assume
the
this guy was
of the group.
This is like Dennis's name.
He's kind of like a bro or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of like
now that I know we're talking about Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I know who Dennis is. In
the episode though where it's Fatty Magoo versus the Iron Monster, and
looking sexy over there.
Fatty Magoo has a clothing store, and then Dennis is like, all these dresses are wrong. I can make a better dress than this, and he draws up some plans for a dress, and it's just like these massive breasted women.
Oops. I thought you were talking about Dennis in this movie, and then I was like, well, Dennis probably drew those.
Dennis in this movie would never.
He was pretending to be Barry, so he had to make some new drawings. He drew
I think he stole Barry's drawings.
He also doesn't.
I know, but I didn't know that you were talking about a different piece of media when I said that. So now what I said doesn't make sense.
That's what I was like. Yeah, Dennis did draw them.
Hey, what a great confusing thing that happened.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's what we like to do here on. Hey, did you see this one?
To get us back kind of on track, I just want to say that I forgot that Anya Taylor-Joy was in this. I think that
what do you mean?
I forgot she was in this. I thought that she was fantastic, and her eyes don't even look that far apart.
That doesn't need to be said.
Rude.
No, sorry.
That is rude.
My point is I thought that she played the like running away from a serial killer, like escaping but still seeming like tough. She played that well, and I thought that, if in the Queen's Gambit, if she was going to kiss that guy that she likes, his eyes were too close together. So if they were going to kiss each other, they'd never actually be able to look each other in the eyes.
If they had a baby, though, perfect eye spacing.
Perfect eye symmetry. See,
that kid would have perfect eyes.
Caylen thought I was going to make a point, so it broke his brain.
Thank you for that. That made me feel good. But yes, so we get a little bit of we get some cuts between different some flashbacks, some real time. The girls are trying to escape. They eventually because Hedwig, steal gets the light at one point and is like watching them or whatever. And Casey, being the intuitive person that she is, what like kind of wins him over, right? It's like, hey, let me tell you a secret, right? Like she does these mannerisms, actions.
Well, she treats him like she talks to him like an adult. If you talk to a kid like an adult, they'll warm up to you a lot easier than if you were like, "Hi there, big guy. How are you doing?" Kids are always like, "Don't fucking look at me." But if you're like, "Yo, what's up, my man," and try to just do like little things with them, and they'll be a lot more like, but they're like little kids. They can't form sentences. He's supposed to be a 9-year-old that is be a 9-year-old with some problems, because 9-year-olds should be a little bit less like, I like hot dogs, and a little bit more, have a little bit more cognitive ability. This Hedwig.
Well, see, the thing is, I think Kevin never really got to have much of a childhood. Yeah. So that's his projection of what he thinks a child should be, kind of thing, is how I kind of looked at it. But he's still him. You know what I mean? Like, all of these people are still Kevin, but with this veil of a specific persona, mindset or skill to help him, with, living life, basically.
Yeah, they all serve a purpose in his life. They're not just created for no reason. They're all there for a specific reason. Later, it's revealed that Dennis was created in order to always keep things neat and tidy so that he would get less beatings from his mom for making messes. So everything would be completely meticulously in order, which is why he has to straighten the dish when he comes into the therapist's office, which is his towel. And Patricia, I don't know, she's almost like, seems like she could be a facet of his mom, but like what he wanted his mom to be.
Not
like,
abusive.
Well, the Patricia seems a little bit more like she loves God, but she'll let you have a little bit of candy after dinner, kind of like a cool mom, but in a Christian home.
She also has a temper, though. Remember when she's cutting that sandwich?
Yeah.
And she's
got a little bit of OCD stuff going on too. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin himself exhibited OCD tendencies if you subtract all of the personalities. When Kevin comes out, I thought that he was it was just James McAvoy, and he was very normal feeling. And that at that moment I was like, weird, like he somehow dropped any of the acts we've seen already and is acting quote unquote like a normal person. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the idea that like he's split off into all these different personalities, and then when you reamalgamate them, he just is one fully formed person who seems to have a bit more nuance. We only meet him for a minute, and his kryptonite is literally, calling to him down through all of the personalities, which I thought was an interesting little thing. That was a good little plot moment where, with Dr. Fletcher's last breaths, she's just like scrawling out his name, because we hadn't heard it up until that point, and then Casey finds it and she puts it together, because Casey's very, very on the ball. She's very like, she lives outside of herself.
The therapist also wrote say his name, and then wrote his name.
What? How did I miss that?
Yeah.
What? You just said it. You just said she wrote it.
He didn't notice that it said say his name.
No, I thought she just put it together because she figured out. In my head, she'd figured out that all these personalities are like, sort of fighting to be the one in charge.
In your defense, it was very poorly written because she was like, half knocked out while trying to write it.
Did the big writing say his name, or did it?
Above it, there was writing that said,
was
say his name, all
okay.
crappily written, and then his name was far more properly written than the say his name part.
It was all left-hand. Well, not. If she's right-handed, it looked like left-handed attempt.
Or she had been knocked out.
Probably how they wrote it. They're like, just write it with your left hand.
Can we talk about that spray for a second? What the hell was that?
Some sort of chloroform.
What's that stuff? Chloroform, yeah.
Spray. More like
chloroform in a spray bottle.
That I've never seen anything like that. That's a fucking comic book thing. That's like bat spray.
Yeah, it's like Joker gas.
Yeah.
Take that.
It's bat spray and Joker gas.
I don't know why, but it reminds me of that Mad Max Fury Road when they have that weird gray silver spray.
It's literally
like
just
I don't know
paint.
why, but that's just what it's not the same, but it just reminds me of it for whatever reason.
I'm pretty sure
because he's holding it to their face and spraying it into their mouths, just like the movie
exactly.
Mad Max. It's because they're doing the same thing. That's why. What pricked your memory.
I'm pretty sure.
Spray can to mouth. Yes.
I'm pretty sure
these are connected.
In Mad Max, they just found a bunch of spray paint. Is it supposed to be a drug, or is it literally just like a war cry?
It's chrome spray.
Yeah, it's just it's chrome spray from fucking Fortnite. Witness me! I'm surprised we don't yell that every time we do that when we play that game.
It's because you're thinking of the health spray. The chrome, you just throw a tube on the ground and it explodes.
I think I have yelled "Witness me" when I spray the green spray on my face. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the funniest is in Community when Alison Brie's character, I can't think of her name right now for some reason. Annie, yeah. I think she's chasing after Jeff, or maybe she's chasing after someone else, and she tries to spray him with bear mace, but she's running and spraying, and then she just runs
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good gag.
But I digress.
Do you, though, or do you want to talk more about bear spray?
One time my buddy's brother had bear spray, and I was at my buddy's place, and I was like, I wonder how bad it is. So I sprayed a little bit on the wall in front of me, and I was like, maybe
you gassed out the whole room, probably.
Oh, the whole house. It was like we had to open all the windows and doors. We were dying. I felt terrible. Inside I laughed a little bit because if this was in a movie or something, this is hilarious. But in real life,
a small dog, the dog would die. Hilarious.
But in real life, yeah, it's nowhere near as funny as it is in a movie, because there's no dramatic irony when you just decide to spray bear spray. Or when I was a little kid, I thought it would be hilarious to make a waterfall in the kitchen or in the bathroom, and I did it more than once. And I went full Wet Bandits, and I plugged up the fucking shit. I think it's because of the Wet Bandits that I did this.
With your shit?
No. With like toilet paper or whatever, and not the toilet, the sink. And I opened the drawers so the water would like cascade like a waterfall.
I get it. I understand. Yeah.
And
you guys were bad kids.
And I would have gotten away with it.
I was such a good kid.
I would have gotten away with it. Okay, my grandmother covered for me, and I would have gotten away with it. But
grandmothers are the shit.
Grandmothers are the shit. But my dad goes to the bathroom when he gets home from a long day of work, and he's already ready to rage out. And he opens a drawer, and it's full of water. Like the drawer retained the water, full of water. And it was one of those like Bart Simpson Homer moments where it's like, Jason! And that wasn't the last time I did it, and I got grounded every time. So
that wasn't the last time.
I blame the Wet Bandits. I blame Daniel Stern specifically. Harry.
That name sounds familiar.
It's Harry.
Oh,
Home
right.
Alone.
Yeah.
The Wet Bandits, of course, are Harry and
Joe
Pesci.
My bad. I'm big.
No, sorry, he's Merv.
He's
Marv.
Marv. Yeah.
Harry and Marv.
The Sticky Bandits.
The Sticky Bandits, and then in the next one they're the Wet Bandits.
No,
the Wet Bandits and then the Sticky Bandits. On track.
Okay, so let's give a shout out to M. Night doing a little cameo in his own movie.
Yeah, as a weirdo.
His name is credited in the credits as Hooters guy. So yes, he is playing a weirdo.
He loves Hooters wings.
I didn't even notice that. That's awesome.
She also refers to his name, like his actual name, and
It's
they
like
don't
Jay
even.
or something,
They still
isn't
put
it?
it in as Hooters guy.
Yeah,
The
That's
Hooters
hilarious. I love wings.
He's like, I love wings. I love voluptuous.
I feel like that should
front
be the
orbs," or
extent of
whatever he
his cameos in movies, because like a few of his movies, he has like extended roles in multiple scenes.
Yeah.
Or like long droning monologues. Like Signs, he's like a character. He's the guy who killed.
Yeah, he's the one that
Mel Gibson's wife.
Yeah.
And then like in The Happening, he has like this long ass monologue scene when the blind woman goes to get the medicine or whatever, and you can see his reflection and hear his voice. You never actually see his face. But yeah, I think in The Happening he has like a full on role as well.
Is he in wasn't he in Devil also? I feel like he was like in the security room or something.
Devil isn't the one with the elevator, is
the
it?
Elevator,
elevator
one, where it was the old
Yeah,
lady.
okay.
The old
Okay,
lady
yeah, I
was the
remember that.
devil. Spoilers.
I saw that movie. It was worth a watch.
I watched it. I watched that, and then I watched I watched Cabin in the Woods, and then I watched Devil on Halloween one year after a party.
Is
at
Cabin in the
Steve's.
Woods the Eli Roth movie?
No.
That's
Cabin Fever.
No, that's
Cabin Fever.
I think that's Cabin.
No, Cabin in the Woods
Cabin
is
Fever.
the Joss Whedon.
Cabin Fever, sorry.
Joss Whedon movie where they go. It's like it starts out like a regular. The kids are going to the cabin and it's gonna murder their faces, but then it turns into like a sci-fi. Like they show all the movie villains, and then it turns out
they try and do some like tropey breaking stuff, and then just immediately gas them so that they start acting like movie character tropes anyway. And you're like, oh, okay. You're like, oh, it's gonna be different. And it's like, no, it's not.
It was great at the time. I remember it being like a real like different thing, like when it came out, and then even when I watched it 10 years ago. But yeah, it. I think if I went back now and watched it, I think I would have the attitude.
It's just goofy fun. It's nice to see
a
a billion monsters at the end, like murdering people. It's pretty cool. Like someone gets killed by a unicorn.
The cabin also like keeps shifting inside to be like different.
No, the cabin stays the same, but they go underground, and there's all these elevators that are full of different monsters, and like when they go into the hidden area in the cabin, and it all depends on like what they pick up and activate.
That's
the
M. Night?
monster that
No, it's Joss Whedon.
We just said it with Joss Whedon like 2 seconds ago. Oh, good
was
lord!
Was it Joss Whedon or James?
Tracks, people, tracks.
Was it
Joss Whedon's the guy from Star Trek, right?
No, that's J.J. Abrams.
No, the kid.
No, that's Will Wheaton.
Oh, okay.
Joss Whedon, not Whedon made the first Avengers movie and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So
and also the second Avengers movie.
And also
didn't he fuck up
Justice League? He fucked up Justice League most recently, and then he got canceled.
No, I meant canceled. Yeah, didn't he do some fucked up shit?
Yeah, he did a power play sex thing with a intern or something.
It's also more like he got outed by everybody that ever worked with him.
Yeah, he got Harvey Weinstein did a little bit.
Well, that should happen
also,
more often.
But even before that, he was notoriously a dick to people on set. Like even before he got outed as like a sex pervert.
You know what I never understood? How can you not have fun making a movie?
Because it's extremely stressful.
They are not the fun that you would think it would be.
You're like, I don't mean it like that. I mean like, how can you not instigate fun? Or like, how can you not promote?
But think about this, Caylen.
Caylen, have you ever made a movie?
Think about this. Caylen, do you remember this?
No. Have you ever made a movie with a budget of over $20,000 that have like hundreds of employees that answer directly to you, and you have to work 21-hour days, 7 days a week for like 6 months in a row?
On top of that, let me put some things
specifically to that criteria. No.
Caylen, imagine it's 4 o'clock in the morning, okay, and you're trying to get a scene just right. And let's think of the scene where he keeps eating the lint. You know, he keeps biting the lint, and the lint goes, and he's like, well, you know, I get the lint all over myself. When he shot that scene, he probably had to eat 100 lints, right? Because he's a method actor, right? So every time he did the scene, he took a bite of the lint, chewed and swallowed the lint, rubbed the little lint on the thing, right? So right there, that's not fun. Yeah, but that's not fun. Once you get to 16 lint fucking chocolates, you're like, I never want to see one of these again.
You know what? Okay, that's fair. And actually, to that point, I have to say this. This movie inspires me to be an actor, but also at the same time makes me feel that I can never reach this level and I might as well not even bother trying.
Well, I mean, but that's a defeatist way to. You can't be an actor because you're too old. Let's be real. No,
whoa!
I'm
There's
just
old
I'm
actors.
kidding.
What are you talking about?
I'm kidding. Nick Offerman didn't actually start his career until he was like 45. So that was a joke. But you do have to practice.
I'm playing along with the joke by pretending I don't know it's a joke.
You do have to practice your craft to be an actor. So you can't just be an actor. You would have to go and take workshops and do the show Barry. That's kind of what it's like to try to break into acting as a fully formed adult. Just gotta go to acting classes. Gotta get gigs. Gotta dress up like if you gotta go to kids' birthday parties. And
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, James's performance in this movie is on one end of the coin inspiring that something like this can be achieved.
Yeah.
But on the other end of the coin, deflating or whatever the word is, where it's like, I don't think I can do that. Like, that is amazing, and I don't think I could ever reach that level.
Very few actors can really reach these heights anyway. Like, look at James McAvoy isn't known for this kind of acting as it is. He was in the movie Wanted. Do you know what they do in the movie Wanted? They say badass lines and they shoot guns by whipping them, and the bullets curve. And in that,
wasn't he in Choked or Choke?
No, that's what's his face, Sam
Rockwell.
That's Choke. Sam Movie. He's also Professor Xavier, which is just.
He's also Mr. Tumnus.
Hello, Will.
He's in lots of fucking movies. He's in lots of movies, and he always shows up every single time, and he fucking rules in every movie he's in. Awesome. He's an extremely good actor.
That freeze frame of you telling me with the telling me face is etched in time. You froze on this.
I think it only froze for you because it didn't froze for me.
It froze on the stream.
I'm watching the stream.
I saw all of these.
Okay.
No, I said he also is Mr. Tumnus in the Narnias.
True.
He's a good actor, man. There's no denying.
He is,
every movie that he shows up in, he's acting, and he's acting hard. He doesn't phone in his roles ever. He always,
like I said,
kills it.
Give him the Emmys, give him the Grammys, give him the Oscars, give him the Tonys,
give him the grandmas.
Give
even
him
better.
All
the grandmas.
Give him all of the accolades. I cannot sing his praise enough.
Give him the video game company accolade.
I would say that there are probably people who know James McAvoy for very specific things, and the fact that he has such a wide filmography in terms of different genres, there's probably you can find 3 to 5 very different people who like very different movies, and they will all know James McAvoy for a completely different movie.
Yeah, like when he was the kid in Terminator 2. I'm 100% kidding. He just kind of looks like that kid.
You talking about Edward Furlong?
Edward Furlong. Edward Furlong does not look like that anymore. I'll tell you that much.
No, he still looks the same. He's a little bigger, but he still looks the same.
Yeah, but he kind of looks like the kid from. He kind of looks like Haley Joel Osment. In that.
Haley Joel Osment. Have you seen him lately?
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Love him.
He's still hilarious. He's hilarious. He does comedy mostly.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that he did that transition.
Yeah.
Personally.
He's a child actor.
But back to Split.
Okay, sorry. On the rails.
Where were we? Where did we leave off? So.
Speaking of Haley Joel Osment, there's a character named Haley Lou Richardson in this movie.
3 names?
3 first names?
Well, I was just saying they sound similar. And
they do.
Haley Joel Osment was in The Sixth Sense. I'm just trying to create a loop to get us back to this.
Oh, that's Claire, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Haley Lou Richardson, not related to Haley Joel Osment in any way.
Just their first names.
Yeah. Let's continue, shall we?
We shall. So let's see. We talked about that.
Hooters lover is what.
Yeah, Hooters
is what he's credited as.
It's even better.
Not Hooters guy. Hooters lover.
You can't just throw out wings. Also, if wings are like 1 bite, maybe 2 bites. You got room for wings.
What are you talking
It's
about?
like Jell-O. You always got room for Jello.
Wings
You always
are
got room
each
for
wing.
wings.
All right, I hate this bit. Let's move on.
Each wing is an experience.
This bit
Okay?
sucks.
You got to eat the caps. You got to eat all the bits. You got to suck on them. I'm not crazy. Like, some people break them open and suck the marrow out. Like, Christopher Reeves on that episode of South Park with the stem cell fetuses.
I eat the bones.
Stevie eats the bones.
I mean, calcium. Calcium's good for you. Your bones need it. Isn't it interesting that your bones need
good
bones?
for your bones. Eat bones; they're good for your bones.
Big Bone is really trying to chime in with their new propaganda.
Bones. It does your body good.
It does your boner, damn it.
So there's one of those foreshadowing. There is one of those little foreshadowing moments where Hedwig. So Casey wakes up. Or wait, where are we at in the thing? So Hooters.
I've been going down my notes, and we are somehow, like, my notes are somehow at the point in the movie we're talking
halfway?
About that. But I haven't been. I thought that the whole point of the new. Hey, did you see this one? Is just to talk about whatever.
We are just talking about whatever, but we're also kind of somewhat timelining.
I did want to say that
I'm the one hosting.
Okay, sorry, you're right. I wanted to bring up
your stories in a sack. You stuff your stories in a sack.
The other two girls who aren't Casey weren't
Claire and Marcia.
Claire and Marcia. Even though they aren't in the movie for like a lot of it, because they kind of just like discard their characters after they keep trying to escape. They just put them in separate rooms basically. They weren't completely useless. When they were able to do things, they were at least trying, and I think that's important because those kinds of characters traditionally in horror movies are completely useless and get murdered first. And I'm surprised that they both got killed. Actually,
they did get murdered first because they wouldn't listen.
True.
They would not listen to Casey, and they died. They got ate by the beast. And if they had just listened to her, there might have been a moment where all three of them got to go with little Hedwig, and they could have locked him in a closet and fucking took his keys and got out. But they didn't listen, and they all got locked into rooms individually because they all tried to fuck around, and they found out about it.
They fucked around, and they found out real quick about how it is.
You know what happens when you hit a jacked man who's actually a lady with a chair? You get put in a closet.
And then he throws you in a room.
He comes after you with a knife and calmly sticks a knife in your belly button and tells you that you shouldn't have done that.
Actually, but that's not how she died. That was just the most tense moment up to that point.
That was just,
she just like gently places the knife in her belly button, and she's just kind of holding it there, and it's so uncomfortable.
So
intense.
When I was watching that scene, I didn't know what to expect out of this movie. This was another one of those movies when the trailers came out, I was like, oh, that's going to be a bloodbath, even though this movie doesn't really have any gore. It's got some implied gore. It's got some, but like the gore effects are bad. They're clearly just like CGI'd in. But it's
not a gory movie. It's not. M. Night Shyamalan doesn't really make gory movies.
Right.
You know? He's just.
But that particular scene where the knife is in her, like, being pressed up against her stomach into her belly button, I was like, oh, is this going to be fucked up? Like, is this going to be like, he's going to cut her and her whole shit's going to come out? And I was trying to, like, keep watching it to, like, add to the desensitization of my mind. Because I really just want to be able to watch whatever, you know? And I want to be able to handle that kind of suspense. Because that kind of suspense...
You know, it's just a movie, right?
Yeah, but then my empathy goes. That's the sound.
I can deal with almost any gore that doesn't involve fingernails and eyeballs. Those are the two things that I cannot handle.
I can deal with literally any gore if it's in a video game, anything in a video game. But some stuff
that's
in movies,
pixelated. That's pixelated. It's not the same.
Yeah, well, you know,
this guy pixelated.
It's not pixelated. You think I only play 16-bit fucking video games?
Final Fantasy.
No, it's got more pixels than that.
Pixelated.
It's fucking pixelated.
Technically, if it's on a TV, it's pixelated, Caylen.
And around this time in the movie, though, we do get the reason behind why the Horde, the Beast, are kind of doing what they're doing, where people who haven't felt pain aren't initiated, aren't what's the word?
I can tell you exactly what the line is because I wrote it down because I really liked it. It's at the end of the movie, and he says,
"They haven't suffered," or something like that.
He says, "Where is it?" He says, "The broken are more evolved." And since he sees all the scars.
Well, before the end of the movie, though,
okay.
There's a part where I think it's Dennis, and he's saying like, you've always been protected, you've never suffered, right? Like
that's
you're almost
Patricia she's talking to.
Oh, is it Patricia? Yeah.
There's like many moments like where it's like he's chastising people for being unevolved, for never having to suffer, and how you'll never reach your full potential because of the fact you've never suffered, and that's why you're there to be eaten. And it's sort of implied that the eaten will join the horde, and maybe he'll absorb more personalities through devouring them, but it feels like it has to be the beast that eats them to do that. But we don't really see any evidence of that, and I don't think that we see any evidence of that in the next movie either.
Don't spoil anything about Glass, please. I know
you haven't seen it yet?
No, dude.
Oh my God, Jason, I want to watch it with you.
Why?
Because.
Well, movies are more fun to watch
true.
with people, Jason.
As soon as I said it, I was like, what an asshole thing to say, Jason. Caylen's your friend. He just said he wants to watch a movie with you. And you replied with, why?
Why the fuck? No!
Maybe we'll do some sort of watch along or something.
Well, not necessarily watch it with you, but I will not spoil it for you. I do want you to watch it, and I want to talk to you about it.
I was worried because I
want to talk to both of you about it.
I did do some theory crafting about the Beast too, and it did cross my mind that there could be an absorbing thing. And I know in the trailer for Glass they like go and bust him out. So like, I'm not even gonna look at you because I don't want to know. But like, I'm interested to see how it gets to John Unbreakable and John Glass go into a breakout John split.
What?
Don't worry, Caylen.
Okay.
Jason is saying things, and you don't need to.
You're doing John Smith for everyone.
You'll start saying things, and
yes,
we don't need to ruin anything. Say any more things.
Can I tell you guys? I saw Wakanda Forever, and they showed the fucking trailer for Quantumania before it, and I was this close to getting up and walking out.
Yeah, you did. And then I asked you all of the things that I predicted would be in the trailer, and then I went and watched the trailer, and I was almost 89% accurate as to what I was. I mean, in it.
I had kind of assumed it was going to be what it was going to be, you know.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be sure until I watched it. Like when I didn't watch any trailers for Wakanda Forever, all I knew was about I didn't even know he was the villain. I just knew he was in it. Oh, whoops, spoilers. Shit. But yes, that made my viewing experience for Wakanda Forever that much better. And I stand by, if you don't want to watch trailers, just don't watch them. And if you're one of those people, the movie will be better. I haven't seen a trailer for Split since the movie came out. And I probably saw a trailer for this in 2015. I didn't rewatch a trailer. Yeah. I forgot. All the things I could remember about this movie were like him being very proper as the woman character. That's the only character I remembered was Patricia.
This movie's trailer only shows you stuff from like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, like when they first get there and they're like the first.
I rewatched the trailer today because I'm interested to see afterwards. Yeah, because I haven't seen it in a while, so I was like, I'm gonna check the trailer out, and I watched it and was like, oh, this is only like the first 20 minutes maybe of the movie.
Yeah,
they show you nothing after that.
Also, do you want to hear something weird about my memory? There was a guy in my memory. There was a guy there with them, captured. I know that's factually incorrect, but
he's like, "What are we gonna do, ladies?"
For some reason,
I mean, Kevin's kind of imprisoned, sort of.
No, I mean literally, like it was two dudes and a woman, like. Captured.
No.
In my that's how I remembered it for some reason.
There's probably another movie that came out at the same time that was like had some that other, going on or something.
Movie. Maybe it was literally Cabin in the Woods because.
Or was that movie with with those kids go into that like blind guy's house and he's like a war veteran or whatever and kicks the shit out of all of them or whatever.
I vaguely remember that trailer.
I think it's called like Don't Breathe or something or just Breathe. I can't remember.
Don't poop.
Hold your poops.
Hold your poops, kiddos.
I'll be
Caylen,
right back.
on track, please.
On track. So we what do we have?
One thing I wanted to mention was how my heart sank a little bit when he's like, "Do you want to come to my room and listen to my music?" I like the Kanye.
Yo, Kanye West is my
Kanye
main
West.
man, and then everything going on with Kanye right now.
I wrote, Kanye West, and then that's not what they play. He plays fucking dubstep because it was 2016. And dubstep was
his dancing though.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that I wanted to mention about that moment is, and they do this a couple times where they just show a wide shot of like him doing stuff. It felt like a demonic Wes Anderson. Like it felt like a Wes Anderson shot, but like dark, like a dark. You know, Wes Anderson's all like pretty cheery and like, but it's always those like shots that are like, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
That scene where he's dancing around had that same kind of vibe as a Wes Anderson movie, but made
name's Mr. Glass.
Made me feel gross. I was saying, Steve, that some of the shots in this movie kind of felt like a demonic Wes Anderson shot, like when he's dancing around. Specifically was the main one. That shot of him in his bed, like it shows the whole bedroom as a static shot.
Oh, when it's like a weird like high angle and it only shows him from like the waist up. Yeah, I can see where you're coming with that. There's also a shot where what's her name, the blonde girl, Casey?
Claire?
No, Claire. She's running towards the camera and it's a very shallow zoom. So she's in focus. Everything,
the piping
close,
and stuff.
everything close to the camera is out of focus, and everything behind her is out of focus. So it's like she's in this one little pocket of focus, and it's clearly on some sort of Steadicam, or it could be like a high mounted. I'm not sure how they did it because you don't see any tracks on the ground. But she's sprinting and she's dodging past these pipes and valves and stuff, and it's so tight at points. And it's going so quickly, and it's so claustrophobic. But I don't know. There was something so good about that shot. And there's a few shots.
It was
like this.
What's it called? Like framing, the framing of it, right? Like it was symmetrical. You have everything's drawing your eye to the center, aka Claire. Like you said, the pipes, right? Like the little hallway or whatever it is.
There's a lot of shots in this movie that are extremely dreamlike, especially the flashback sequences of when she's a little girl feel very ethereal, and
those have a lot of that Wes Anderson sort of feel to them.
It's got a very intense color palette, and it also is all shot very low. Like all the angles are very low.
It's from her. It's all from her like point of view.
Yeah, it's supposed to make you feel like you're looking up to the adults, kind of thing.
And whenever they show her face, she's always very close to the camera. And they're always sort of looming. Yeah. Except for the grossest part of the movie where he's like, let's go play our little game. And then you're like, uh-oh. And then he's got his shirt off and he's like, I'm a beast. And
we learn about, like, there's hints of what happened. And then it's right in your face what that uncle did. And, rewatching it the other night, I was like, oh yeah, shit, fuck, like that.
I completely forgot about it as well, and it
was
brought
unsettling.
It brought up the same feelings I had when the movie came out. And there's something that a lot of B movies do that I find very cheap
and very, one of these like
very, very easy, and it's very
sympathy for your main character.
It's very unearned. And I think it is, in a lot of cases, despicable. I'll say in this movie's case, it's not as poorly done because he doesn't take it too far. But just the fact that that's the trauma, it seems like for a movie where they're doing all this super creative stuff with a mental illness that exists for real and doing all this interesting science fiction-y stuff with it, to take something, and DID, it affects I think something like 0.1 or 0.001% to 1% of people, the human populace entirety, which is still pretty high, but it's not that high. It's pretty low. The chances of somebody with DID going and seeing Split and being offended, pretty low. But the chances of somebody going to this movie not knowing that this is part of the plot and being exposed to this plot point, it's going going to
which
ruin the
is
fucking
much
movie
more,
for you.
much more common.
Much higher.
Yeah.
Much higher. It's very common. It's a very common thing that happens to a lot of people. And I think that that's a problem. I don't like it. And it's like, you could have come up with 1,000 other things that would have traumatized her that she's had to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
It ties things up in a neat little bow as to why she is prepared for a situation like this, because she's dealing with it every day of her life, because her uncle ended up having to take custody of her after her father died, which insinuates to you that
she's been dealing with it up to this moment.
She's continuously been dealing with it since her father passed away. And so she's prepared for a situation where she's being held against her will, in a situation that is dangerous and that she has very little control over, and she'll know how to manipulate people to get out of these situations. It also shows why she's so capable with a shotgun. And, you know, it does it has a job to fulfill within the movie, but for me, a little bit of creativity, they could have come up with something else that would have given her that preparation that she needed for the situation, that didn't involve bringing in a very real thing that affects a lot of people, that is traumatizing.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. But to kind of add on, so like, yes, I agree with what you're saying. Absolutely. On, for lack of a better word, the other side of that coin, as terrible as shitty things are in life, whatever they are, sometimes good can come from it, which is what I took from that. And I'm not trying to downplay the seriousness of...
Yeah,
but I don't think that this is the movie to do that. Like that. What I'm saying is that the idea behind this movie, it's a comic book movie that is an origin story for a supervillain to meet up with a superhero within the same universe.
Right.
That's probably not the venue to deal with this type of traumatic experience, right?
Gotcha.
I understand what you're saying, but there are times when it's appropriate to do that, and times where it's like, you're just doing this because it's the easy option. And
gotcha. Okay.
See, because I thought that she was gonna deal with some shit in a way that was like, she was in with the wrong crowd, or since she is sort of an introvert, invisible person, she had to deal with something a little bit less like unnerving than somebody very close to you being a sexual aggressor like that. That was a tough pill to swallow, and I think they could have just had her just have a shitty home life, and the flashbacks could have been more like just an asshole drunk even.
It could have been much more vague.
Who could have shown, instead of showing straight up, like almost showing a straight up sexual assault against a very young girl, they could have had this like shitty dad or this shitty uncle who's like throwing beer bottles at her and exhibiting similar like unnerving things. But I think going so far as to make her uncle this like, just, it was disgusting. And I think it could have been toned down. It's very off-putting, and
I think that you guys understand the point that I'm making, and you agree with it.
Yes.
I don't think we need to dwell on it for too long. It's something that, like, it could have been anything else. And like the fact that his trauma is born out of, you know, like his need to compartmentalize different personalities in order to survive his situations. And then
because there's
Unbreakable, his trauma is that he almost drowned as a kid, which is a thing that happens to lots of people as well. But it's also something that like is very uniquely specific to him and what his weakness becomes and all of that stuff. And it's a creative way of dealing with it. Whereas this just seems like a sloppy, like, oh, we'll just do this.
There was a lesser one than her childhood trauma that stuck out to me. And that's when this actually just came up in my notes, but he's there as Barry, and she's realizing that he's Dennis, and then Dr. Fletcher brings up the prank that some teenagers pulled on him, where they ran up to him and like made him put his hand up their
He's trying to hold himself together so hard in that scene.
And maybe that was Dr. Fletcher trying to pull out Dennis, because Dennis is
what I thought.
Dennis is
definitely was
the child molester. Totally. Like, but at the same time, I feel like that's another one of those, like, it's kind of intense It's like kind of an intense thing.
It is, but
movie.
It's also like the way it's also so strange, right? Because like during that moment, I was half expecting her to then say something along the lines of like, "But we both know that that was just the story that you told, and we know what actually happened." And then I thought it was going to devolve into something where the Dennis character is also like, creeping on people and doing horrible things, but that didn't happen. And I'm like, okay, so what was the purpose of that other than to like resurface trauma, I suppose? But it also seemed like needlessly.
I think she's trying to instigate
a
reaction out of him because she.
I know that, but
I didn't
like
think
it
about
could have
that
been again. It
was
could have been anything. The specific nature of the story is what was off-putting and weird to me. Where I'm like, why wasn't that the story? Like it could have been anything. They didn't have to make it two teenage girls randomly come up to a custodian and like stick his hands up their shirts. Like seems like a really weird prank for some teenagers to do. Like
but also like that's
what's going on in Philadelphia.
That's some shit that like horrible Mean Girls style teenagers might do to some like perceived maintenance man who is mentally.
I mean, also he's hot, so maybe they were just like.
It was either that he's clearly like functionally mentally incapacitated, or they thought he was hot. Which either way, it's gross.
Yeah. It is.
And then she's like, "Okay, I gotta go now."
Yeah, bye. Thanks for honking my hooter.
No, like Dr. like when she's like talking to Dennis, it's like, "Oh wow, okay, we should talk about this next time. I gotta go now."
Yeah, it's unfortunate as well because I think her suspicions were so high, the doctor, that if she had just left, because he was going to let her leave.
Yeah.
Because Dennis, I think in that moment, Dennis was realizing that Patricia was controlling him and the Beast was controlling Patricia, right? Like he was also being controlled by the Beast through Patricia, and he was scared and he knew that she could help him. But when she went snooping, that's when he had to take care of her. Or like he didn't even kill her, right? He just knocked her out, thinking the Beast will take care of her later, and he does. But if the doctor had just it's always those moments in movies where you're like, no, just get the fuck out of there and call the cops, man. Because if she just left and said, I suspect that this guy might have those missing girls underneath the zoo, then they would have came back with SWAT and taken him down before he started eating people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what is part of a thriller, right?
It
does lead into a very cool editing, let's call it a trick or whatever, or edit. I don't like the I'm not sure if I've ever noticed it before, but I noticed it the other night when I was watching it, where we get kind of a point of view POV shot of Dennis leaving the zoo, and then it kind of fades out and then fades in to Patricia accepting flowers at a flower shop, and she's like, "Thank you." And it's like the way I perceived it when I watched it the other night was like Dennis had the light during that moment, and then now he's giving it to her. But and they conveyed it through editing or whatever, right? Like that's what blew my mind.
Yeah, I think the whole idea of the light is really interesting and cool, because you almost have to entirely utilize your visual imagination to like imagine what it is like, even though on screen it's just like him kind of shifting and changing. He describes it as like a dark room with a circle of chairs, and each of them is sitting in a chair kind of thing, and one of them gets to stand up and stand in the light at a time.
Yeah,
that's literally how I imagined it.
Through the eyes. That's probably like
the light,
right?
The light from the eyes. You get to stand in and look through the eyes and become the person, and that's the light. I would imagine it as like two circles in a dark room, two circles like kind of up
all centered on one point.
Yeah. I kind of pictured it as like I pictured it as like a spotlight, and then like the chairs are in the darkness, and then you walk into the light and look up, and then you take over the body. That's how it kind of almost like being beamed up from like an alien ship or something.
I didn't actually. I don't have the. I didn't have the spotlights. I had just like you walk into it and it becomes like brighter for a second, like in video games when people like wake up and it's bright.
Yeah.
Like that. and then you're the person. Then you're in control.
It's a
of the
keyhole,
body.
and you look into it, and you go. Wah.
But then also, and then
there's ropes that you pull to control the arms and legs.
You're underneath a chef's hat, and you pull on the guy's hair and ears to make him cook a ratatouille.
All fun and games, but when they get busy in the bedroom, and then he makes a lasagna on her ass, so she pulls his hair.
That's when I draw the line.
The only other thing in my notes that I really wanted to bring up was during her running away from him as the Beast. It really evoked. There was the most horror. It was the most suspenseful of the whole thing. They kept talking about how the different personalities talking about how the Beast can climb up walls and use the friction from any little like foot or hand hold. He does that a whole bunch, which I thought was a really cool payoff.
In perfection, yeah.
And then at the end, when she's running, she runs to the end of this like really spooky hallway already because it's like underground and it's half lit.
Maintenance.
And he's coming up the ceiling, like crawling across the ceiling and smashing lights out. Then he drops down and he's running across the hallway and just being like, the prophecy, this, and like blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was really dope. But when she's actually actively running from her and he's like reaching out to her almost, that's the part that I really felt like Resident Evil. And I know that we joked around about how no, I didn't mean to say that in a way that's like, this is the punchline. I honestly felt that like if you did half of this kind of feeling for a suspense horror video game tie-in, you wouldn't get a full action thing like you do with the actual Resident Evil movies. I want to see somebody who's like mortally injured in one of their legs with just a shitty shotgun trying to like just get down a hallway with a bio monster like pursuing them. And that's what he is. He's essentially a bio monster, right?
I think the coolest thing was that the whole movie they're saying the Beast is on the move, and then he goes to the train and he gets on the train and takes his shirt off and goes down and stands up as the Beast. And it's like, you know that his father died on the train, and like that's where the Beast was born, and the Beast arrives on the train. It's really interesting, fun, cool storytelling through only visuals that you have to like kind of piece together. And you know they're going to meet the Beast. She brings the flowers for the Beast and then gets on the train. It's pretty cool, man. It's a very cool and interesting origin story for a villain. I really like it a lot.
Every person is in the same body overall. But he even says Dennis is the biggest and strongest, but he's still just, you know what I mean? And then when the Beast
But the way he carries himself though, right? Like all of them.
Yeah, that when the Beast emerges though, obviously he has like his veins like puff up and become black, which is
CGI.
The supernatural part. But he's still just in the same body, but he gets sweatier and his eyes get bloodshot and he gets a little bit more jacked, you know, and but the way they describe the Beast is he's got like this mane and his fingers are fucking twice the length of a regular finger, and you know what I mean? But so from his point of view, he's probably, if he looked in a mirror, he probably sees himself as all of these different personas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of an interesting way to look at it. I'd like to see.
But he is doing crazy shit. Climbing across the ceiling, smashing lights, and his pupils grow to the size of his entire irises.
But we even see before that Dennis's strength versus Hedwig's strength are different. Yeah. Jade literally needs insulin, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure that if you punched what's the history guy's name again?
Orwell.
I'm sure if you punched him, he would crumple like a fucking leaf.
He would say, "Oh, good God!" and fall backwards. And
yep, that's all my notes.
So you mentioned, she's chasing Casey down through the pipe corridor thing. So I wouldn't exactly say it's green, but the last shirt that she has is kind of like a brownish green or like an off green kind of color, which kind of ties in. So again, it's another little kind of like before the end of the movie where they give the reveal, it's a little hat tip to. So David Dunn had a green poncho, right?
Okay.
she's got a green tank top or whatever. It's like it's kind of like ties in. When the Beast is pulling apart the bars, like his face, and just like, oh my, this movie is damn near perfect. I have to say, it's Hot Rod is. Sorry, go ahead.
Do not put Hot Rod and Split in the same.
No. I was gonna say Hot Rod is like one of my favorite.
It's one of the best
movies.
comedies. You're right. Okay, I'm sorry.
This is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
There's almost no flaws. Almost no flaws from
that really big one.
What's the really big one?
Do I have to go into it again? Sorry, I'll go into it in my outro.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The other, just one last little thing I wanted to mention was the use of Casey's many shirts throughout the movie. You can almost, if you were to see this movie on TV, or if you were to walk into a room and just see her, you could pretty much figure out at what point in the movie they are, because she has a different look,
right,
almost at every point of the movie. And I really like that, because he even says to her at one point, I think Hedwig's like, "You wear a lot of shirts."
Yeah.
So it is a plot device that they're using to show the passage of time, and also to show her many layers, because she's very guarded. And
for a reason,
absolutely.
Right?
But even at the very end, her shirt's like ripped, and she even like does the final rip, kind of like a badass action star, to like, she rips it and then fucking shoots. You're right, Caylen. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like, one of the best, like pound for pound. It's entertaining. I wanted to see what happened next the whole time. Anyway, I'll also go into it. I didn't write out my reaction for like the first time ever, because I know that I'll have no shortage of things to say about this.
Glad to hear that. Where are we at? Let's see. Oh, one thing. One of the other like little things is like Patricia knowing these different facts about animals, and then at the end we realize that they're in a zoo, and that's most likely where she got her knowledge from, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but
he works at the zoo, so that's probably also, they all know it.
That's what I meant. You
don't find out it's a zoo until that last moment.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I mean, right? Like you there's these things throughout. There's all these little, let's call them Easter eggs throughout the whole movie. Like, this is one of those movies where I personally think, like, watching it the first time is priceless, but rewatching it has so much extra value added to it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure.
Wow, you guys really like this movie.
I do. I really do. I can't not sing enough praise about M. Night, James, Anya Taylor, Joy. Excuse the pause. I'm sorry, Anya.
She is our number one fan.
Excuse me. We don't refer to him as M. Night anymore. We call him Hooters Lover, and we will call him that forever.
Yo, I'm down to call him Hooters Lover. If he's okay with that, I'm down with that. I fucking love Hooters.
He'll never know.
I love wings.
Have you ever been to Hooters, Caylen?
Yo, there used to be one in Dartmouth, and I think I went once. I think
there's a Hooters here, and I almost worked. I got hired there.
To make wings?
Well, yeah, no, for my fucking big fabulous titties. No, when I first moved here, I was still cooking, and I was looking for jobs, and I went and I successfully got a call back to come work for Hooters. The only time I've been in Hooters was to do a job interview, and it was a dude who was working in the kitchen. I didn't see any Hooters ladies. To this day, I still have never seen a Hooters lady in real life. But I got hired. I said no. I took another job. But I've never gone back to go for the wings and make the joke from The Office. I'll have the chicken breast hold the chicken and have the Hooters waitress say, "Is that what you really want?"
And then I'll be there and I'll say, "You should order milk."
Yeah.
Get boned. Get a bone.
Two of the things.
I used to deliver beer to the Hooters in Toronto and Brampton all the time, and
do you think milk's heavier?
It's just
than
a
beer?
restaurant, guys. It's just a
Milk's
restaurant.
probably
It's just a
heavier than
restaurant.
beer.
It's
But-
literally just a restaurant, and they just wear a tight T-shirt. But if you go to any restaurant, the waitresses
They
usually
all
wear
wear-
tight
Well, you're
shirts
supposed
at
to
any
have
restaurant.
you're supposed to have big boobs if you work at Hooters, but the thing is now you can't like discriminate like that. So it's just people
Yeah.
are trying to get.
I
through
applied at a
college.
place called Ding Dongs, and I had to wear a banana.
Yo, did you
Well,
whip your
banana
chick out?
hammock. There is a place in the States called Twin Peaks, and they still do
Like
the
the movie?
like the TV show, yeah, but it's like mountains.
You too?
It's mountain.
It's a
themed.
boob reference.
It's a boob reference, but it's like
Oh,
Holy shit!
but they still employ that. I think in the States, Hooters is still very much like that too, where they still like, you can work here if you have small breasts, but if you have large breasts, you
can super work
can
here.
super work here, especially if you put on that cleavage. Anyway, I feel
wow, what a
gross.
dumb thing.
Can we go home? I want to go home.
all right. So
Let's all just say
what-
collectively, fuck Hooters. It's a horrible
Yeah, it's
idea and a
gross.
horrible establishment,
It's
and it's disgusting
exploitive.
that it still
It's
exists.
disgusting and gross.
So the Beast realizes that Casey has suffered and leaves her be, for lack of a better word. There's a few lines. Actually, Jason, I think earlier you were about to say this line. Can you say it for us, please? Those that the suffered, the evolved one, that one.
Yeah, you said it.
Okay.
You know the one where he says, "You have suffered, you've evolved." Yeah, say that for us again.
He looks when she rips off the rest of her shirt, she's got
Cuts.
cut marks because she blades herself obviously, and also probably scars from getting assaulted by this weird beast uncle who his favorite game is playing beasts. He hated every moment.
Oh shit!
Yeah, but also she clearly was a cutter. But one of her cuts, it was a fucking tic-tac-toe. I swear. Go
What?
back and look. I'm pretty sure it was like a hash mark. I don't know if
I've known people who have
Had
done
fun
that
with-
to themselves.
Never mind,
and
that's a bad joke.
they don't. It's not. They just do it because they like the feeling of it, and
yeah.
they'll do tic-tac-toe. Yeah,
Um,
it's not like they do it at the same time. They'll do like 2 marks, and then they'll do 2 marks the other way another day.
The broken
Yeah.
broken people are more evolved, and so she's
Right.
pure at heart, which means he sees all the cuts and he just leaves her alone and just disappears into the darkness, even though he's got fucking multiple gunshot wounds.
So for all the darkness encapsulated with this movie, the lines associated with that theme really spoke to me. I've always kind of felt like an outsider and weird or whatever, and like I just don't fit into shit. And it's nice to have something speak for you.
Yeah, I feel that. Final
So
thoughts?
I guess that brings us to. Oh, actually, at the end, the cops come to pick her up, and your uncle's here to pick you up. You ready to go? And the way I interpret it, she has this look where she's finally ready to speak up.
Yep.
And say no, and
She
say
does.
what this person has done.
The head acting in this scene, it was the
Yeah.
most subtle no look that the cop immediately knew what that meant, because it was also a woman
Yeah.
cop. So
Yeah.
they had a moment. All cops are bastards, but like in this moment, the cop knew, and I feel like it's a vague happy ending, where we don't know for sure what the next thing that happens is, but I like to think that now because she went through this tumultuous experience, she was able to speak up about her horrible home life and
exactly
get him put in jail. What we do know in reality is that victims rarely get their comeuppance. Victims, people who do victim-y things, people who, sorry, 1 second.
No, that sounded wrong.
People who are awful, who take victims.
People who victimize people?
Victimize, thank you. Sorry, Steve. They rarely ever get their comeuppance. I fear that the reason why it was left open like that is because we can go like, oh, obviously she told the cop that her home life is bullshit, but then the reality is that a lot of times people with those kinds of home lives don't actually get any sort of justice, and she probably just had to keep persevering through horrible nonsense.
Okay.
Good thing there's another movie that we can find out.
Spoilers.
Well, I don't think we actually learned about that part of it.
Spoilers.
But,
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Please.
Jason,
please.
If we can't watch it together.
My final thoughts. Okay, so I really enjoyed the movie.
Maybe on this little podcast, this little thing that we do.
Jonathan Split was a man who had 2 to 20.
Before we get into our final thoughts, do you guys have any other notes that you would like to discuss before we sign up?
I have no notes.
So I thought that this was a lot like Final Fantasy VII, and I'll tell you why. You're supposed to yell like, "Oh no, don't do that!"
I laughed inside.
We were supposed to do that. Oh shit, I didn't know.
No,
I didn't read the script for this week.
This one was nothing like Final Fantasy. I didn't get the memo. This one was nothing.
Did you get the memo?
I'm gonna start sending memos when I want to do a bit.
You know what? Maybe you should. Also, I got a question. Did James get paid for each character? He probably didn't.
No.
He probably just got like.
He did not receive 24 paychecks.
Yeah, but what if he did and he got paid
should
the same amount for every
each character?
He'd be the highest paid actor for a single movie in the history of film.
Right?
Actually, there's a funny story about Deep Roy, the character actor who played all the Oompa Loompas in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake.
The Tim Burton one?
Yeah, where the studio wanted to pay him like $10,000 or whatever, and Tim Burton was like, no, we're paying him $1 million because he's playing 100 fucking Oompa Loompas, and there's no way we're paying him.
And also, Tim Burton was like, $10,000. What the fuck? It's also Deep Roy, who's been a fucking character actor since the 70s.
He was in Royal Tenenbaums, right? Wasn't he? Is that him? No. Sorry, my apologies.
Never apologize to Deep Roy.
Yeah.
But I assume he didn't. I will personally sign a petition. He should get paid for each character because
he's an actor.
You don't get
he's
retroactively paid for movies either. This is unless it's like
okay. No, but you get paid for your role. You get
paid for being on the movie as an actor. You don't get paid for your role. That's not how it works. You think Austin Powers got fucking 5 paychecks? No.
But okay, look, John
Eddie
Carpenter,
Murphy got paid.
He directed, he wrote, he did the score. He got paid for each of those things.
Those are different things. Those are different parts of the movie.
Those characters are different people. He is transforming into
Caylen,
a different
I gotta
person.
tell you, this is stupid.
I hate
this is fucking stupid.
I get that it's a bit. It's funny as a
what
bit.
I'm trying to say
but
is
I can't
he's
tell
awesome,
if you're serious or not because
he
you've been drinking.
He deserves to get paid. 5 actors.
We just lost 3 viewers.
We actually did. We were up to 5
Did
or
we
6
actually?
people, and we're down to the original 3.
We lost 1 viewer for every time you said James McAvoy should get paid for every single character he played in this movie.
Luckily, we're ending now, so.
Well, we are. Thank you, everyone who's been here along the journey, and thank you for everyone that has come to check out this journey later on. When it gets uploaded. let's conclude tonight's episode with our final thoughts. Jason, would you do us the honor?
I would love to. Split is going to stick with me for quite some time. Everything from James McAvoy's incredible acting, I agree he should get paid for every role. He should get 24 paychecks. He should get a double paycheck to play the Beast, actually, because that was the best part. Of course, I'm kidding. That's just a bit. But I will say that each one of the roles, we didn't actually see all 24 roles. So I'm glad that we got to see a few more, like later in the movie when we saw the videos and Jade actually comes out. And then we get that scene where they're like all arguing with each other in the mirror. That was dope. I love that kind of stuff. The
Can we speculate what other personalities he might have had? Any funny ones?
Well, there's probably just like a bro who's like
there's one who's like, he's like an airline pilot, and he's always like, well, I think we're at 40,000 feet now. And...
No, you know who there might be? A train conductor to make sure the train doesn't crash.
About his actual life.
All aboard! Tickets, please!
There was
tickets here! Got those tickets here!
There was a florist. The florist who sold him the very flowers he was to leave at the...
Yeah.
He knows the fashion
right
designer come into that. Anyway. I
really just wanted a slightly effeminate man.
Yeah. Barry is also a florist. The cinematography in this movie was like really good for like a lower budget film. I really enjoyed some of the framing and some of like the scene that you were talking about Claire where she's coming down the hallway, the Resident Evil shot, as I like to call it, from when she's like just escaping a monster. Some of the like really spooky, like him in the dark, and you don't really see you don't see a full figure. You just see figures. All that kind of stuff makes me just want to keep watching. None of it was boring. I saw the runtime as 2 hours, and when I see a 2-hour runtime, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes, is it gonna be 2 hours of like, I want to see what's gonna happen next, or is it gonna be the first 25 minutes are like, this was interesting, then they hit.
I can't wait till one day, Jason, when you don't look at a runtime and go, oh fuck me, and just say okay.
You're right. Dex Durden is here. By the way, Dex Durden just dropped a little truth bomb. I think John Malkovich made like $2.6 billion on being John Malkovich because of that multi-part rule. Okay, Dex Durden, that can't.
I was right. You can get paid for your multiple parts.
This man came in here and said $2.6 billion.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. I think he was making fun of you, Caylen.
God damn it.
But at the end, nice to see you, Dex. It's good to see you back. Please. Come back all the time. We get to a point in this movie where I'm actually sad to see it end, quite frankly. I'm glad that there is another movie in this series as a whole, but I almost feel like it's a bigger reveal where you have a movie from 2001 or 2002, I think, is Unbreakable, and then fast forward to fucking 2016, and then it's revealed in the twist, like almost post credits as they're known now, and they were then, because it's fucking 2016. The MCU had been out for 6 years, and it's boom.
Yeah. After he says Mr. Glass, it goes dun 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 dun.
But the thing is like Glass comes out 3 years later, so they just clearly Night Shyamalan just wanted to like turn Unbreakable into a trilogy instead of him always having this in mind. Anyway, all that said,
I think he wanted to make a TV show actually at one point.
That would be tight. I would watch a TV show. I want to know about all the other weird heroes in this world, because there's clearly more. There's clearly more people with abilities. But all those weird, like, when you're sitting around with your friends and you're like, what would be the worst superpower? This universe, it just has a guy that is unbreakable, and then a bunch
super of hearing, but you can only hear what other people are listening to on their AirPods.
Exactly. Unbreakable. John Unbreakable has a power. The rest of them are like, I just have split personalities, and one of them can go beast mode. I have the power to all my bones are glass. Like, that's not...
I can break easy.
That's not. But I have the power of a super intelligence, sort of.
Well, see, that's the thing. He's Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Anyway,
He's like a mega manipulator, I think, is
that's
his deal.
true.
He's
that's
like,
true.
yeah.
Also a massive historian. Anyway,
Jason, you
to,
and me, Glass. Flagpole, 3 o'clock.
I mean, we could do a bonus app where we just watch it all together on Zoom and at the same time press play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
actually, that might be the best way to approach Glass instead of doing this.
I think I've covered everything I want to talk about within the review. If you didn't get it, I really like this movie. I give it a 4.2 out of 5. The only reason I would take marks off of it is because other movies exist that are better. And that's I can't articulate.
What's the highest you've rated on this show? What's the highest you've rated?
I gave Baseball a 5. But that's because I loved it as a kid. I think 4.5 is probably the highest I've legitimately ever given a movie.
Right.
There's probably some 5s on my Instagram movie reviews.
Right. Yeah.
But like, I usually rate good upper tier MCU movies, the better ones. I usually give them a 4 to a 4.5 because I love them, and I love that medium. Okay.
Right.
I give movies, like good movies, 4 to 4.5. This one smack dab in the middle of the 4.2. I give movies that
4.25 would be in the middle, but I'm not nitpicking.
Popcorny movies 3.5 to a 4 if they're really
right,
good. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I've also kind of decided to take away the points because I may as well just do it out of 10 at that point. But for this movie, I did specifically give it a 4.2 because it's not quite a 4 and it's not quite a 4.5. I think if anything, I can't think of anything bad about this movie. This is it's a 5.5 in the Thunderdome. Just kidding. It's a 4.2 out of 5 in my opinion. Over to you.
Well, thank you.
Whoever's next.
Well, Steven seems to be the next one. Next.
All right. The movie Split is a fairly decent movie.
No.
It extends the story of a larger movie that came out in 2001, but it doesn't let you know about it until the very end. A very cool idea that made everything I felt to be uncomfortable, ham-fisted, and cheap to be passable only after seeing the post-credits scene. But even watching and revisiting, those issues still felt earned to me. I still felt them resonate through my watch. I have less problem with the depiction of.
Would you say, Steve, it's like a theater actor DMing a D&D session? I believe you said to me in a private chat.
A theater student, like a theater kid running a D&D session.
Whoa!
Switching between characters.
Private chat.
Don't worry about it.
I have less of a problem with the depiction of DID in the movie, something that's made clear to be supernatural and theoretical in the conceit of the movie, than I did with the revelation that the main character's trauma was something to do with their childhood that was very disturbing. The weak attempt to show the disorder through the psychiatry of the film would have potentially been better off using a completely made-up disorder rather than taking an existing one and turning it into something based in science fiction. But the chances of someone with actual DID seeing the movie and being offended are much less likely than the chances of someone seeing the representation of childhood abuse on screen being used as a crutch for storytelling, which I kind of felt to be problematic. That said, the movie itself was thrilling, and James McAvoy delivered, as usual, which he almost always does, a great performance acting against the other actors convincingly, as well as acting against himself, ? Whoa! I do think that the reveal of the movie being a comic story continuing the tale of Unbreakable, or at the very least extending its universe, is good and makes the issues I have easier to brush aside, though I do have little patience for the use of a pervy uncle in movies as a source of trauma. It hits too hard for some people, more people than with DID, and it takes away from the fun of the movie, which I think this movie ultimately is. It feels cheap and mean and ultimately unearned, coming across as a shrug in the writer's room. How do we wrap this up? She needs to be traumatized too. Okay, what's dramatic? I don't know. Let's go with one thing that everybody will feel like they want to barf in their popcorn bag about. All of that said, This movie is good. It's a compelling and complex yet somehow simple story that has you guessing what's going to happen next at nearly every corner. It acts as an interesting and original origin story for a villain in a universe we are familiar with. I think it's good, but I would also say that it's a B-level thriller, something that even M. Night Shyamalan thinks it to be. So I'm going to give it a B-level rating. Its rating is a B, a straight up B. 19 personalities out of 24 personalities.
Caylen, before we go back to you, I just wanted to say that on Steve's note, I would say that Unbreakable feels like a superhero Marvel-y kind of a movie compared to this, which feels like when they make
a Joker DC movie.
No, not that bad, but more so like the television program Moon Knight, which basically has nothing to do with the MCU. It's its own thing, just happens to be published by Marvel, but they keep mentioning, or they not even keep. There's a couple small mentions. Actually, a better.
I have no idea what this analogy is meant to accomplish. I don't think I agree with anything.
Well, let him finish.
Okay, go.
Sorry,
go.
Moon Knight's a bad example. What I'm talking about is more specifically is the Netflix Marvel shows. In Jessica Jones, she says that big green guy, and the New York incident. And this kind of is that in the Unbreakable universe until that very very end, when we literally see John Unbreakable be like,
because they don't want to give it away.
John Glass.
Actually, on that note,
Jimmy Glass, man.
For the test screenings of this movie, they kept out They kept out Bruce Willis's thing.
Well, then it's just
they didn't want those people to go blabbing it to their friends.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, then that makes it basically not in this universe. Besides,
I'm wondering how I would feel if I didn't see that last scene. Now, when I heard that,
anyway,
right?
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to bring. That was just a thought I had. Caylen, what's your final thought, buddy?
Oh, who, me?
Yeah, you, brother.
Yes, you.
My final thought?
Oh my God.
Well, let's see what I have written down here.
Thank you for writing it down.
It's like that note that she wrote when she was on drugs. It's all fucking crazy. Say his name.
So, you guys spoke to some of the stuff I already wrote. One thing I will say is, this movie did not have any lulls for me. I was engaged. Why are you laughing?
You just pronounced lull as lol, yeah. And it made us laugh.
It made me lol.
Oh, okay, perfect.
You start your final thought with, I didn't laugh out loud at this, so...
Yeah, I never laughed once.
In this horror suspense thriller.
Well, so to that point, this movie had a few things within it, right? It was a suspense thriller, a little bit of horror, right? A little bit of
beast,
comedy.
had a Hooters lover. It had everything,
right? It did. No, but it did. It had a little bit of everything in just the right amount, the right way. It flowed. I was engaged the whole time. There is never a point where I wanted to go look at my phone. Like there's movies where sometimes I lose interest and I'm like, and I don't even want to, like when ideally I want to watch the movie and watch the movie. I wanted to watch this movie like front to back, and I still do, and I still will anytime I put it in. We talked about the acting. I'm just going to verbally say, hats off to everyone involved. James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, Jessica Sula. My apologies for mispronunciations if I am. Haley Lou Richardson.
Haley Joel Osment.
Betty Buckley. Sebastian Archilles, maybe?
Is he go through the whole credits?
Yeah,
you better hit Hooters lover.
There's
soon,
only
I'm
5 or 6
Hooters
people.
lover. I'm not
But they all did very well at their part. And you know what? Hats off to M. Night for writing and directing, in my opinion, a masterpiece. There is...
Wait till we talk about Glass. You're going to be calling it a Glass-terpiece.
Hey, don't get me started on Glass. I want to talk to you guys about Glass, but we'll save that for Glass. There is basically no flaw that I can pick out of this movie. The only little nitpick that I can kind of say sort of, but they might even try to have done what I thought they should have done, is at that one of the early scene when they're going to the car and you can see the reflection of the camera operator's legs.
On.
Whoa. They could have made his pants dark gray like Dennis's pants, right? Is an easy thing. And maybe they were, and it just didn't look that way in the reflection of the car. But aside from that, there is nothing that I can personally nitpick or call out for this movie as far as a flaw. And it is nothing but...
That's why I'm here.
Thank you. But I said it earlier at the top of the episode, and I'll say it again. I have to give James McAvoy all the flowers, all the awards, all the just...
Blow him kisses.
Yeah, I'll give him a kiss on the lips. I don't give a fuck.
All right, Caylen, we get it. You love his performance. Jesus Christ. Come on. We gotta get out of here.
Yo, wrap that shit up, B. All right.
Yeah, he's not watching.
He could be at some point in the future.
Never going to see this.
He might.
Imagine he was one of our 3 listeners right now. He's like, I like the cut of this Caylen guy's jib.
He really thinks I'm a good actor. I'm going to call him up and send him a Christmas card.
As Kevin's 13th personality, which is an oil prospect, being like, oh, you see here, that Caylen fella really knows what he's talking about.
Get along. Me and Orwell would probably get along too.
This conversation is my 13th reason.
Before I finish my final thoughts, how many personalities do you guys have?
Like 4, whatever.
Honestly?
I mean, in a conventional
6.
sense, everybody has like a bunch, yeah.
Well, I have one.
Well,
I have one
that's
me.
what I'm asking.
I don't. That was a joke. That was a series of jokes. I don't claim. I don't have any. I don't have any multiple personalities. I do have different moods. I guess I do have different
moods and personalities are not the same thing.
Exactly. That was
like being hangry is not a personality.
You're not yourself when you're hungry. You become Danny DeVito or Joe Pesci. No. I have one personality. I don't have any sort of... I'm not even bipolar. You know what I mean?
Also, their identities, they're not personalities, guys.
Right.
So, okay. So, I'm going to wrap up my final thoughts. One thing I'll mention is I don't recall hearing the movie title throughout the movie, but at the same time, I found myself getting immersed in the movie so much that I forgot that... I forgot to take notes sometimes.
Me too. I forgot about that.
There's a moment where the dad character, he gets up after getting hit in the head and he goes, I got a splitting headache.
I'll count that.
I'll say something about this. I'll say something about the title of this movie. I had to, there's not on any streaming service that I could find, so I had to use alternative means. And when I searched it up.
It's on Netflix.
It's also in my hand.
It's not on Netflix.
That's where I watched it.
Oh, fuck. I stole it by accident. I just want a pirate. I'll steal it. Yarr. But looking it up, when you type the word split into a search engine, you're going to get 99% pornography because of the title Split Scene.
I have a parental control on, so I didn't actually look at nudies.
No, I had to filter. It's because of split scenes, because sometimes there's more than one scene in a pornographic film.
Yeah, I love the old split roast.
Nope, that's not.
I don't know what that even would be.
We're gonna spend the next hour talking about it. Welcome
So for everything that this movie is,
for Caylen and Jason,
one thing that it was for me was comforting. To take away all of the extraordinary or whatever the out of reality aspects of it. So I mentioned earlier about as shitty as it is, like I would never want anyone to ever go through hardships, but good can come from hardship.
That's true. So for Caylen and Jason, I'm Jason.
And the other thing I wanted to say...
Oh, God.
Now you're trolling.
I thought Caylen was going to be like, I find this movie comforting because if everything goes horribly wrong, I can live underneath a zoo.
No. Look, so this ties in with my own personal shit, right? So I was super angry with life and the cards it dealt me when I was young. But because of the cards I got dealt, I grew to be who I was. And I wouldn't be who I am if that shit didn't happen. And in the moment, I hated it. But right now in my life, I still hate it, but I appreciate it for what it helped me to become.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate that.
So, what else did I write here? Okay, so thank you guys for throwing me off my groove. I give this movie a hanging out with all my personalities and agreeing for once on the same thing. Also, I give this movie a new thing I'm going to add to my thing is I give this movie a buy. This is a buy. I think you should have this in your collection.
Actually, that's you know what? Do that more. Do that thing more. I like that.
I just started it. It's now going to be a part of my thing.
Awesome.
It's either a buy, a watch, or a pass. This is a buy. And not that it really matters, but MPAA 50,611.
Awesome.
And on that note, for Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
For Caylen and Steven, I am Jason.
For Jason and Caylen, I'm Steven. Hey, did you see this one?
And we just gotta ask.
I just said mine. Hey, did you see this
Hey,
one?
did you see this one?
You just said yours.
Hey, did you see this one?
Did you see this one?
Play that. Boom.
See this one? Did you see this one? You still recording?
I got a question for you.
The music's playing us out right now.
I got a question for you guys. What does the M in M. Night Shyamalan even stand for?
Michael.
I think it is Michael.
It does not stand for Michael.
Imagine if it did.
Michael Night Shyamalan. That's pretty tight.
Yep,
actually.
that is his name. His name is Michael Night Shyamalan, yeah.
Is it? I just joked.
Yep. No, he's like born in fucking Philadelphia.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean it in that way. I didn't mean it like...
Oh, Caylen, did you think it was Muhammad? Muhammad
No.
Night Shyamalan?
Are we still recording right now? Can they hear us?
Absolutely. Absolutely, this is live.
You fucking racist!